This episode of the One Piece podcast is sponsored by Kolektakon at kolektakon.com/One Piece, your source for One Piece Mega House merchandise.
This is the unofficial One Piece podcast, episode 316 for the week of Monday, May 5th, 2014. My name is Zach.
And my name is Steve.
On today's episode, we have Dennis. It's been forever, also known as Ichnob. How are you doing?
It has. I'm doing good. Sup, all my buddies? It's been a while since I've been on a podcast, so looking forward to being on again.
It's good to... We've been having some Podcast West representation. Dominic last week, Dennis this week. It's a good thing.
Maybe Jammer will get out of actually not recording stuff.
Well, Jammer, is that you over there?
Yeah, guys, it's me, Jammer. Hi. Remember me, Jammer, from previous episodes of the One Piece podcast? Jammer.
For those...
Not at all the dude.
For those who can't figure it out, this is indeed the dude.
Hi.
How are you doing, dude?
I'm well.
And we have a very special guest, our correspondent over in Japan. We have Greg joining us this week. Hey, Greg.
Oh God, what was the thing? What is it in English? What was supposed? Come on. Hold on. Just. Hello, everybody. It's good to be here. Good to see you. And I was just thinking about what I was going to say here. Oh God.
In English?
Yeah, and I love you all. Amazing. 5 years. Congratulations. That's incredible.
I cannot believe, and you've almost been on for 5 years yourself, Greg, in a few months.
How many volumes of One Piece is that? Quick, somebody. 25 volumes of One Piece.
It's been 25 volumes? Jesus.
It is 25 volumes. That means literally you've gone from volume 1 to my favorite volume, 25, to where the story is.
Yeah.
25 is awesome.
It's crazy.
That makes sense. I could have probably just done some pretty easy math to figure that out, actually. So why don't we start out with that? We are celebrating our 5th anniversary. It's on May 31st of this month, so May 31st, 2014. We started on May 31st, 2009, which is just crazy to believe. I went through 5 years of old episodes last week. It took me like a few hours to, cringe a lot while listening to them. And we have some really cool stuff planned. I'm going to go through it now, actually. On this episode, we have Chris Sims, who wrote this really cool article for Comic Alliance. He's a big name in the comic world, and he is just getting into One Piece, and he is loving it. So we're going to talk to him on this episode. We also have Greg, of course, because you can't really celebrate the 5th anniversary of this podcast without Greg. So we're going to talk a little bit about the Dressrosa arc today, since I know you guys have been clamoring to hear his opinions on it. So excited to get into that, and we'll also hopefully catch up a little bit on what he's been up to that we haven't gone through yet. Next week, we have a really special episode planned for you guys. We're going to have Josh Kosharek, the brand manager for One Piece for Funimation. He's going to come on. It's not going to be your ordinary Josh Kosharek episode. He's going to come on. He's going to probably make some announcements. But he's also going to come on for the manga recap, which I'm really excited for, because he is nice and caught up. He's going to go through it with us. The following week, we're going to have Matt Cohen is scheduled to return. For those who don't know, yeah, he's from the Smodcast Network. He does Bagged and Boarded. We'll have him on the 19th. And we have some really special stuff planned the following week, which will be the real anniversary week, which I don't want to spoil the surprise. And we have additional guests. Steve, you were at ZenkaiCon recently, and you have something for us as well.
Yeah, I did interview Brina. Unfortunately, it was a group interview, so it's a little different from us. There are some other people asking questions there, but I felt like we got some really great answers for Brina. It's pretty much she talks a lot about where her career is right now and where it's going, and not a ton of One Piece stuff, but if you guys are a fan of her in One Piece, I think you'd be pretty excited to see what ventures she's currently going through, and I think it's a very entertaining interview, and I think you guys will like it too.
So that'll be out in the next few weeks. And also, Dennis, you're going to be at a convention soon.
Yeah, over by the San Jose Convention Center during the Memorial Day weekend. We'll be attending FanimeCon, and I can't remember what the year that is. It's been so many years since Fanime's been around, but yeah, hosting a One Piece Podcast West panel there. It's going to be mostly me, and then my own podcast co-host and partner in Cosplay Crime, Kate, who she has been on the podcast.
Yeah, it's been a little
long time ago.
Like probably 2 to 3 years, yeah.
The problems we have to deal with working on the West Coast.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. But I'm glad we're going to be having you on more in the future, right, Dennis?
Yes, I will try to make it on hopefully like every other week.
Cool. So if you're in it's in
San Jose.
San Jose. Mm-hmm. Sorry about that. May 23rd through 26th. Check him out. It's going to be at FanimeCon. And make sure to visit the panel. It's a One Piece podcast panel. It'll be cool.
It's at Saturday at 6 p.m., so we got a fantastic time. We don't have to worry about wondering if people are going to show up at 9 a.m. to a panel.
For those on the West Coast, we will also have a panel at Anime Expo. That's in July. That's the July 4th weekend. There's no date for that yet. Do you have the time for the panel yet, or have they not released the schedule? I mean, it's still a month away or so.
Yeah, they haven't really released anything yet, other than I don't even know the actual day itself. So we're still waiting.
So still waiting on that. Keep an eye out on our social media networks for that. Steve, you're going to also be at a convention coming up soon.
Anime Central. That's in a couple weeks in Rosemont, Illinois.
And we have a panel there as well, right?
We do. I don't know what it is yet. But
Steve will be going solo. Be the only one there. But Steve hosts some great panels. So he is our MC.
You flatter me.
That's what I'm trying to do, yes. So check
He's
out.
going solo. Does that mean he shoots first?
Yes, it does.
No, someone else in the audience is going to shoot me first, making absolutely no sense. And then we'll just carry on like usual. Now, I think it'll be my second time hosting a panel by myself. Just hopefully I don't vomit in a panic.
Good.
But that would be a really interesting panel, though.
You're really setting that bar.
Yo, I just went to the best panel. The guy just vomited.
I don't think that's how they would put it.
And then he gave away One Piece prizes.
That part's a little bit better.
Yeah, it's a gashapon. It's got some
Vomit on
chicken on it. Sorry. Stomach acids. You might want to watch that.
Good start to the show, Steve. So check him out at Anime Central. That's I think it's the week. Is it the same weekend?
No, I think it's the week before.
It's one of those weekends. Wait, I'm looking.
Math will answer this question.
May 16th through 18th. So yeah, it's the weekend before. So we're going to be around. Maybe not me per se, but Steve and Dennis will both be around on the convention circuit. So check all those out. So lots of 5th anniversary stuff happening. So keep an eye. We'll also be posting some really cool stuff on the site, thanks to William, in the next coming weeks. I'm going to try and post some things as well. So just keep an eye out. It's a big milestone. I can't believe it. And we'll be doing this for another few decades. So it's just the beginning. Right, guys? So I think without further...
That couldn't sound
5 more years.
That couldn't sound
5
any
more
sadder.
years.
It's just the beginning. Right? 5 years later. Oh, come on, Zach. I just want to watch wrestling and do the same routine I was doing 5 years ago because I progressed nowhere in life. I have a life, damn it.
So where do you think we'll be in 5 years, Steve? Besides that.
Celebrating the 5th anniversary of you asking me that question.
Anyway, why don't we get into the
On a
episode?
plane headed for One Piece Podcast Goes to Japan Part 4.
It's what is there left to say?
One Piece podcast goes back to Japan.
Again.
One Piece Podcast moves to Japan.
We gotta go back to Japan.
Does the sun set in
terminated?
Japan?
No, the sun doesn't.
The sun only rises.
The sun,
The sun also rises.
the sun only sets in Tampa. I'm sorry. Okay, why don't we get into the episode?
All right.
Okay. Hey everyone, we are here talking with Chris Sims. Chris, do you want to tell everyone a little bit about your background and what you do?
Yeah, I'm a professional comic book critic and comic book writer. I am the senior writer of ComicsAlliance.com. I have a weekly Q&A column that runs on Friday, as well as other columns that go up throughout the week. 3 a day, actually, but Ask Chris tends to be the big one. And yeah, that's what I do. I have a graphic novel out now that came out in February from Oni Press that was co-written with my good friend Chad Bowers and drawn by Scott Kowalczyk, called Downset Fight. So if you like fighting, then you should read it.
I think we're all fans of that here. So we're here first to talk about an article you wrote a couple of weeks ago. For those who didn't get a chance to see, it's on Comic Alliance. We'll put the link in the description and on the episode. But it highlighted the Arlong Park sequence, the big Arlong Park sequence in the Arlong Arc. Do you want to talk a little bit about what went behind your impulse to write the article?
Yeah, I really, really love that story. I'm a big fan of, obviously I'm a big fan of fight comics. You know, like I love character-driven stuff, and I love seeing that stuff play out as action. And as I was reading One Piece, which I got into very recently, I'm very new to One Piece. I read it mostly on the recommendation of David Brothers, who is another guy who used to write for Comics Alliance and works for Image Comics now. He was a big champion of the series and was always encouraging me to get it. So I ended up picking up the big 3-volume editions, and so I've been reading those. And when I got to the Arlong Park sequence, I was like halfway through it before I was like, hey, this fight has been going on for 100 pages. That is excessive. But it wasn't. It wasn't excessive at all. It was like still really good and amazingly well put together and character driven and honest, which is something that I feel like a lot of comics I read don't have. A lot of comics that I read end up being cynical, or the violence ends up being very perfunctory. Whereas everything that happened in that fight sequence, that again plays out over the length of 10 full comics that I would be, 10 full Western DC or Marvel comics. Every kind of action had a consequence, and everything played out to someone's emotional core, and everything kept getting crazier, which I loved, because I'm a big fan of. I gravitate towards weird comics. I'm a big fan of like Silver Age stuff, Golden Age stuff. So when a dude says I'm a 40th degree master of Fishman karate, then I'm in. Like, you got me.
That wasn't supposed to be funny.
It was hilarious.
I know.
And there's like one, and things are so arbitrary in that fight too, where a guy's like, before I only hit you with 4 degrees, now I'm gonna hit you with 400 degrees. It's like, what does that mean? How does this work? But it all really works well. It comes together well. I think it has that emotional core to it, and that's what really attracted me to it. And I've got I tend to write. I have to write a big post every day. One big, 2 small. That's the schedule at Comics Alliance for me. So most of the time, the big stuff that I'm writing, I really try to make it something that I'm passionate about. Like, what am I reading right now that I'm passionate about? Like, I just did I did a couple big articles on the Andre the Giant book that's coming out from First Second. I'm getting ready to write about an upcoming graphic novel called The Shadow Hero by Gene Yang and Sonny Liu that's really good. So a lot of times it's just, what am I really into that week? And that week I was really into that Arlong Park sequence.
And I guess from a more outsider perspective, since we're like so steeped inside, we have to kind of take ourselves out of it, I think, for the moment.
We're numb. That's what you're saying.
Exactly. It's exactly what I'm saying. what really has been attracting you to the series, where you are now or where you were when you wrote the article?
Well, to be honest, I haven't read much further than when I wrote that article. That I wrote about about a month, maybe a month and a half ago.
Yeah.
And the volume that I have is the first Baroque works volume is what I'm reading now, and I'm getting ready to move, and so I don't want to buy more books, and so I don't want to finish the books I have, so I'm stretching it out so that I won't want the next one immediately. So, but yeah, I haven't read too much further. I've gotten to where they're on the crazy island and all the assassins are killing him, which is that is exactly my jam.
Yeah, that's a good one.
That's a fantastic one.
Yeah.
But as for again, I think it's funny because Brothers asked me, who my favorite character was when I was about 5 or 6 volumes into it. Once the sort of main cast, I guess, had been assembled, and I told him I really like Luffy. And he was like, "Yeah, he's so dumb." It's like, hey, I mean, look, that is true. That is 100% true. But he's also kind of very refreshingly heroic. I just finished watching. I just recently got into Kamen Rider as well, and I watched Kamen Rider Forze, which is a show about a guy who just wants to be friends with everyone, and he becomes a superhero. And so, he fights these kids who become monsters, and at the end of every episode, he turns them back into kids, and then helps them with their teen troubles. And that's it's so nice that it really is affecting for me. And I feel like in a lot of ways, One Piece follows along in the same sort of genre of this, Luffy, he wins people over by being nice. He's a good person, and it's never presented as something that's Western comics, which that's my bread and butter. DC and Marvel superhero comics is what I read, and we're in this weird period, especially for DC comics, where there's a lot of cynicism and there's a lot of no one would ever be Superman sucks because no one would ever be that good. And it's well, if you think that's your problem. That is not a problem with the character. That's a problem with you. And I like the way that One Piece presents itself as, at least in these early issues, and I'm hoping it holds up because again, I'm only at volume 13 or whatever. But it presents Luffy as a genuinely good guy, kind of not strictly uncompromising, but the big emotional moment in the Arlong Park sequence is when he realizes Arlong has kept Nami in a little room to make her draw maps, and so he destroys the room so she can't be he physically cannot keep her in that room anymore, because that's what's making her upset. So it's making people happy through violence, which I'm very.
Violence solves everything.
Yeah, look, it's my favorite old Mystery Science Theater quote. If violence isn't the answer, you're asking the wrong question. Which I agree with that in stories. I do not agree with that in life at all.
Yes, yeah. I think that should be emphasized.
I feel like we should also emphasize, no offense, before you get any further in the story, it's pronounced Luffy.
Is it pronounced Luffy? See, I haven't watched any of the anime because anime's for nerds. I don't know if you guys know that.
Shit, I'm screwed then.
I hope every single one of us that got into One Piece just through the manga, no one told us about the series at all. I hope we're all in the same boat here and we all pronounced it Luffy, because I was one of those guys too.
I still have friends who pronounce it Luffy,
makes sense.
and they habitually watch the anime.
I just know it's we got to at least let him know, or else our fans.
Is that like the manga equivalent of Submariner?
Oh, you mean Namor?
Yeah.
Submariner.
Submariner? Actually, it's funny. In your article, do you know that that it's Zoro, rather than Zolo?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, yeah.
I read things as they're printed on the page.
No, it's kind of funny. It's like some weird licensing thing where they can't use Zoro right now.
Oh, so it's like when they did the Loop in the third movies, but they had to call them Rupan.
Exactly.
Yes.
Okay.
If it makes you feel any better, I could not decipher the One Piece logo originally, so I didn't know what the hell it was called.
It's
King of Pirate.
It was like Pie. I was like, I couldn't read it.
I can't pronounce half the names even after I hear them. So it's a common problem. I also saw you wrote an article on One Punch Man, which is, I think, a series we're also all fans of.
Oh yeah, it's a hoot. It's kind of the exact opposite. It's kind of a cynical story, but done well.
Yeah. So yeah, I urge people to check that article out as well. It's a great series.
I was not when I was younger. I was a big manga reader and a big anime fan. You know, coming up in the sort of late '90s when it was just starting to get mainstream, and then because when I was a kid, it was just whatever you could find. It was you would go to Blockbuster and they would have Ghost in the Shell and Appleseed, and that's it. So that's what you would watch, and then you would look for whatever you could find at the store. So you would end up reading Sorcerer Hunters for 12 volumes.
I did the same thing, yeah.
And then all of a sudden you can get whatever you want. Like all of a sudden there's the big manga boom. It's in bookstores. It's super popular. Everybody's reading it. You can watch whatever. So I just went crazy and I read everything. And then I realized I actually found them the other day. I'm getting ready to move, so I'm doing a big. I'm kind of going through all the stuff I have and trying to get rid of as much of it as I can. So I found my copies of Love Hina, which was the manga that made
I did the same thing. Yeah, that was the same exact problem I had.
Yeah, I'm like 3 volumes into Love Hina, and I'm like, oh wait, I hate this. I hate literally all of these characters. And I want this stupid house to burn down and all of them to die. And
I sold like my 2 copies like a long time ago.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even try to sell them. I just put them in a box for the library.
Nice.
I didn't even want to admit I owned them to anyone, even though I've told that story a lot. But I made this completely irrational decision. Like I went from 10 to 100 to 0. Like I stopped reading manga, except for Gunsmith Cats I was always a fan of, and then Detroit Metal City I got into, and Yotsuba I got into. But One Piece is kind of the now that Detroit Metal City is over, I can only have Yotsuba plus 1. So, but yeah, being able to get like One Punch Man digitally from Viz, like that's what really. Again, Brothers was talking about it, and he loved it so much, and I was like, well, I really like One Piece, so let me check out this other thing he talks about. And they had just put out the first volume digitally, which is so easy to get and so awesome.
I think the second one just came out too recently.
Yes, I haven't gotten it yet,
2
but I
weeks
need
ago,
to.
I think.
Yeah. But that's really cool. You have so much to look forward to, I think, coming up. I think the most popular comment to your article was like, just wait. It just gets so crazy.
I had a lot of people who were mad at me because I think the headline that ended up running with that article was how it was it was the best fight ever. People were like, listen, you've only read a sixth. Of
I think that
it's a headline, guys. It doesn't. It's a headline.
I think that just wait can also apply to the your comment earlier about 40th degree Fishman Karate Master. Because, boy, there's some really wacky stuff coming down the pipeline.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I got to right after that, they go to the, I guess it's like the last port before they get to the Grand Line. Mm-hmm. And Zoro, thank you for correcting me, Zoro goes sword shopping.
Right.
And they're just like, oh yeah, this is just a barrel of famous cursed swords. This is something we all know about. I love it when stuff comes up like that, where it's just, there's a lot of, just roll with it in One Piece, which I really am attracted to as a reader.
Well, when I read your article, I did feel pretty nostalgic because that's basically the same thoughts I had when I first watched that arc. I can't tell you how many times I've rewatched the Arlong Arc. I mean, back in the day, I didn't have access to every single episode of One Piece. It's like the total opposite today. Like, I have my fill. I'm like, there's like 600 and something episodes and chapters. But at the time when I couldn't get a huge One Piece fill, I always went back to the Arlong Arc. And I think maybe they're not choreographed the best in terms of what follows, but I think just the emotional buildup, I don't think any other arc really compares to it.
Yeah, for it to be for it to be a, because I look at it in terms of superheroes, because that's what I'm so familiar with.
Yeah.
For it to be like the climax of this extended gathering the team story, because that's what what is it called, the East Blue stuff? Like that's what it really reads like. Is he meets Zoro, oh he meets Nami, oh he meets I'm gonna try it. I hope you guys are ready. Usopp?
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go.
Well, I mean,
some sticklers might be like it's pronounced Usopp.
Usopp. Okay.
But they could go live. They could
No,
go
it's
live.
not.
They could go live in Japan for all they want.
Yeah.
Or Tampa.
It's okay, Chris. You don't have to get it.
Yeah, they it's this big getting the team together thing, and Saji,
Sanji.
Sanji.
Yeah.
There's an N in there somewhere. Okay.
There's an N, yeah.
Yeah, I like him. I like him and his crazy eyebrow. He's great. And his one heart eye. But yeah, like I love the idea that they spend a lot of time getting the team together, and each story of that has an emotional core, and so you get like an individual emotional look at these characters. It's very slow build, but it's one that's very exciting. Like particularly the Usopp story where they have to defend the village without the village knowing. That's an amazing premise, by the way. That is a read it and make you mad that you didn't come up with it premise. That they have to defend a village without the village knowing. That's brilliant.
Yeah.
That's just like, it makes me so mad. It's good. But all of that comes together, and then you get the Arlong stuff, which is the first big union of all those emotional cores as one team, as one crew.
It's like the Avengers of the East Blue arc.
Yeah, it is. Except it's like 10 times better than the Avengers.
Any other questions, comments?
Sure. Since Chris, you're you grew up reading all the Marvel DC superhero comics. How did you find it? I guess like Luffy's rubber powers in comparison to say Mr. Fantastic, Plastic Man, Elongated Man.
I think they're amazing. I wish that things would be as creative and action driven for those characters, because a lot of times they're not. Mr. Fantastic especially, like I really like Mr. Fantastic as a character, but I didn't until I read specific comics, like because he's only really good when people are treating him a certain way. And obviously, the Stanley and Jack Kirby stuff is like treats him as an adventure hero. Like he's stretchy Doc Savage. And the Mark Waid and Mike Waringo stuff treats him as a scientist dad, and those are both good. But as far as powers, like a lot of times his powers don't. I feel like a lot of people don't know what to do with stretchy powers. Plastic Man is good in his own way because Jack Cole was doing really innovative stuff in the 40s. Like if you go back and read the original Plastic Man stories, they read like they're from the 60s. They read like they're 20 years ahead of their time.
Oh.
That stuff in the Spirit is, I mean, they read like they're old, but they don't read like they're from the 40s. If you put them next to like other mainstream comics of the time, and I'm not even a big Spirit fan, but you can't really get away from that. But yeah, like the kind of constant innovation and constant new attacks, which I think is a trope that you see in manga and Japanese entertainment, because it's Lord knows it shows up on tokusatsu shows all the time. Everybody's on this. Like again, Forze is genius because they figured out a way to give him 40 separate superpowers, and he gets one at a time. So there's always a reason to go to the store. But yeah, like the idea of kind of upgrading him and giving him new powers all the time is really cool. Like even when those powers are weird and don't quite make a lot of sense. Like I still like.
Yeah, inspiration from the most random of items in everyday life.
Yes. But yeah, the like, what is it? What is the one? The big crazy axe kick he uses on Arlong? It's like the what is it? Might just be Gum Gum Axe.
I think it is just Gum
Yeah.
Gum Axe,
Yeah. It's like I gotta say, didn't see it coming. Like it was still a surprise. It was still pretty fun. But Usopp is the same way with his crazy slingshot in those stories. Although, like honestly, my favorite attack sort of thing was when Zoro, like when I was informed, and then I actually read it in the book, that the reason Zoro can speak when he has a sword in his mouth is because he speaks from his heart. that was when I knew. That was when I knew. I'm like, oh, okay, I get it. This is the best thing that's ever happened.
Any other comments or questions?
Yeah, this is more of a comment. I always tell everybody this when I lend them The Wire for the first time, but man, I wish I was in your shoes right now and got to read it all over again for the first time. I'm just really excited for you.
A lot of people have said that, and people have been very kind about not spoiling stuff for me. Because I have to read so much just to keep up with the day job that I like I said, I rarely have time to actually sit down and bust through those. And when I do, I go like a fiend. I'll knock out one of those big 3-volume books in an afternoon. But yeah, like people have been very encouraging about it, which is nice.
Well, if you ever need an outlet in the future to like talk about it, you're always welcome on here. Besides writing about it, you can.
Thank you guys. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I'm curious what your thoughts will be in the future as you go forward. We don't get to talk to a lot of people starting from the beginning for some reason. I think it's because we attract the people who are already done by the time they get to us. But yeah, no. What do you have coming up? I think you talked a little bit about it, but where can people find you, and what cool things do you have coming up?
The easiest way to find me is at about.me/Chris Sims, which is just links to everything I do. I'm on Twitter, which is at the ISB. I'm at comicsalliance.com every day, multiple times, writing about stuff. I have a podcast that I do with Matt Wilson called War Rocket Ajax that goes up every Monday, and we have another.
I've listened to War Rocket Ajax.
Oh, okay, then yeah.
Oh, it's crazy. Yeah, really great podcast.
Oh, thank you. We really try our best. We also have another podcast that we just had a successful Kickstarter to fund. We've been doing a premium podcast for about a year called Movie Fighters, which is it's very much your standard two guys watch a movie and then make fun of it for an hour podcast. It's very innovative. I don't know if there's anything else like it in the world. But we decided that we wanted to really get a big new audience for it, and so we're going to put it on iTunes for free for everyone. So we did the Kickstarter to fund it because it's our source of income podcast. So that is actually successful. Right now it is we have 39 hours to go on it, so I don't know when this is going up, but that's at tinyurl.com/moviefighters Kickstarter, just exactly like it sounds.
Cool. That's a lot of stuff coming up. Good luck with everything.
And obviously Downset Fight is in stores and available digitally. Subatomic Party Girls is the other comic Chad and I write with Erica Henderson drawing it. It's about a girl group that gets shot into space and they end up in a galaxy without rock and roll. And that's available on Comixology. And we will be at Heroes Con in Charlotte in June for, I think, the 8th year in a row selling our comics. So if you're in the Carolinas or the Southeast area, go to Heroes Con. It's a great show.
Cool. Well, it was great having you on, Chris, and I look forward to hearing your progress in One Piece in the future. And always cool to have a new fan on the show. So thanks again.
Well, thank you guys very much for having me. I love talking about stuff that I'm getting into. So this was really fun.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks.
This is the Toonami Recap for episode 252. The steam whistle forces friends apart. The sea train starts to run. Before we start the Toonami Recap, why don't we start with ratings? Dude.
All right. Well, let's see here. We have the ratings for April 26, 2014, 1 a.m. That would be One Piece. Ratings, that is 987,000 viewers. And that is a 0.7 on Household, and compared to last year's ratings at 1 in the morning with Soul Eater, that would be 1,067,000 people watching, 0.8 Household, so slightly down from last year, but pretty much the same.
And this is the last night we were at 1 a.m. This last week we were at 1:30 a.m. Unfortunately, nothing trended either, so That's also probably partially our fault. I mean, were you guys tweeting last on Saturday night?
I was not.
I was nowhere near phone reception.
I was nowhere near a TV.
I was nowhere near consciousness because I was asleep. Yeah.
Are we bad?
But the thing is, you could watch it, either DVR it, or you could go to adultswim.com or Toonami.com, and you could watch it anytime. I watched it the next day, on Sunday, and I have notes, and we could talk about it. It's a really good episode. I think we had good episodes of our shows this week. Previously on One Piece, for those who forgot, Kaku beat Usopp, the Mary is thrown overboard, Iceberg reveals the truth, Robin reveals why she did everything, and all the Straw Hats, had to let the other Straw Hats leave the island safely, and Nami beat Chopper.
Where's our last week's episode recap DBZ music right there? Oh man. Well, if you didn't already make the joke, I would have suggested for Zach just to put in that music right there when Zach was doing that.
If you send it. I think you guys are doing a pretty good job at it, though. It's like I'm there. Okay, so... Okay, so... Okay, we're done.
Now do version 2.
No.
Ding 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 loop. Ding 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 loop.
Remember that thing about either gaining a lot of fans or losing a lot of fans for trending in the opposite direction?
Oh yeah, don't air this part.
That's not how it works.
Oh shit.
So we get at the top of the episode, Corgi is leading Robin to the sea train with CP9, and Sanji's looking over. Serious, stern Sanji. What's Robin up to? Why is she going in the train? And then he has a fantasy about him. This is Ed's favorite scene, I think, in the anime. About Sanji being the prince in shining armor with Robin. And Stephanie Young, I thought, did a really hilarious job as the princess in this.
Yeah, because she had to go way out of character for that. Like, yeah, I remember there was a lot of that.
Yeah.
And we also have a weird frog and bunny at the bottom, which is I'll post the image on in the description because it's hilarious. And the whole time there's the running joke where Frankie and Usopp are trying to like what's the big idea, and they just get knocked out at least 2 times. That happens, or it's a repeat. Anyway, after the opening, we see CP9 finally enter the sea train and get ready to go to Enies Lobby. Meanwhile, Chopper is very happy to hear Robin's true motivations. Brina plays it super cute, as usual. And the crowd is just very confused and calls him by all the wrong animal names. And Iceberg lets them know that the train is departing at 11. This is going to be the gist of the episode for most of it. We also find out Polly's okay. I know you guys were concerned about that, so you could relax now. Thank you, Steve.
That wasn't me. I can't whistle.
Oh, dude.
Yes.
Okay. and he enlists everyone to help the Straw Hats. And there's like a Yagura brigade going through Water 7, and you have Chopper with Zoro's sword at the top. And the running joke, Luffy, Zoro, Sanji, Usopp, you could come with us too. That
great bit.
It was a great bit, and I thought it was done very well in Funimation's version. That was a great bit in Japanese as well. It's nice seeing it in English. I think that was a lot of fun. Anyway, the train is still preparing to depart. Lucci's being a complete dick because Khalifa's like, oh, we could finally relax after 5 years. And he's like, no, we fucking can't. We have to get there first. Then maybe we could, hold back a little bit. It's just so uptight. So.
I mean, he's got a point.
No, he's
exactly
right.
What's going to happen?
Right, but he's being a dick about it because he's Lucci. And I love one of the random soldiers who notices him is like, wow, that's CP9. I can't believe we're seeing Lucci face to face. How the hell did he know that Lucci, Anyway.
Wow, that's CP9. I'm so shocked that we're actually allowed to see what they look like.
And he's like, oh, he looks so like his eyes were dead or something. I'm like, why are you admiring that?
That's something I never get about CP9 being all like undercover secret agents. They use their actual names.
That's true. That makes no sense.
Well, it's like James Bond, right? I mean,
Yeah.
the name's Bond, James Bond.
Why are you
Nobody else
telling
knows who I am, I swear to God.
And we have, I like, there's this like really weird scene. It's just Iceberg and Tyrannosaurus, hanging out with like this sad blue background. I'm like, okay, two are sharing a moment, I guess. And Sanji slowly heads off to the train, but we go back. We see Luffy stuck between two buildings. And they have a running, and they have a running joke. I think they say like almost the same line. And then Zoro's stuck in the chimney.
Not the girl.
There's a ton of Walla. No, not the girl in the chimney. Sorry, that took me a minute. There's a ton of just random Funimation voice actors, which I really just should have, Steve, you could have probably just taken a whole list of it, just known it off the top of your head probably. But I'm sure most voice actors had a line in this episode because they talk more than the Straw Hats do. Yeah.
Yeah. Most of the Straw Hats are out of commission at the moment.
Probably one of my other favorite scenes, though, is at toward the end. They're all in the car, and I think it was Corgi comes out. It's like, oh, we got to depart early, and you just have Hattori sitting on his own in the front, looking super evil.
I get my own chair.
And he makes the noises, but he's like giving a really evil stare to the guy. It's like, okay,
I now I remember that. It's like you're disturbing Hattori.
And then Lucci just
and then just cuts to that frame from when Galliwa burned down with just the flames in his eyes.
I love that. Someone made a gif of that. I think it's beautiful.
Yeah, Toonami.
Toonami did that. Yeah, it's an amazing one. Meanwhile, and also Lucci reinforces that he is a dick by saying, "I'm not going to miss this place at all. It could go to hell."
Like, he is being a dick
for no
the sake
reason.
of being a dick. It's almost like, I wonder if fans back then when this arc was going on were still clinging on the fact, like, no, maybe they're good. Maybe
I think that's why that was there.
Evil. And Oda's like, I gotta crush a bunch of people's dreams right now.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, you're most likely not far from the truth.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the reason why he's being such a dick.
Kaku's the one like, hey, isn't this your ship that you love very dearly, and it's not really going to hold up, but you're still clinging on to it because you treat it as a person? I'm sorry. I just brought the lever down. Oh no, it's going out into the storm. Oh, it just got washed away. Oops.
Fooled you. It's all right, buddy. I'm doing you a favor.
Robin has these really saccharine memories of her time with the Straw Hats while she's on the train. She's covering her eyes.
Skypiea, and that's about it.
Which, I mean, it's her first being rescued by Luffy, her joining the crew, and her in Skypiea, and her getting attacked by Aokiji. That's the whole thing. And then you see Sanji approaching the train. The conductors are like, "No, sir, don't go on that." And then Nami approaches the train and misses it and just yells for 5 minutes. And that's the episode. Thoughts?
We've been getting into the good stuff already.
Yeah, we're almost at the train stuff. We're very close. The next episode is pretty good, if I recall.
I think some of these episodes are a little bit slower than what we were used to. And then it starts to really pick up again once...
the train stuff, right?
Once we get really far into the train, and I won't spoil you if you're somehow listening to just this segment and nothing else, but I know there's some people out there. It's gonna get a lot better. I think right now we got to get over the fact that Luffy's still stuck in a building, and Zoro is, he did a botch Santa. But yeah,
good stuff there, Steve.
Yeah, I don't know. I was kind of hoping for someone to say something else.
Anyone else?
It was a good episode.
Thank you, dude.
Thank you. Whatever, that was like an impression of. That was a good episode.
Well, it was a.
Oh God.
You might say it was a good episode. I don't know.
Okay.
Coors, the banquet beer.
Let's go to the next segment. You guys ready?
Yes.
This is the anime recap for episode 643, Shaking Heaven and Earth, Admiral Fujitora's Power. So I thought this was a pretty good episode. Why don't we start from the beginning with the standoff at Greenbit? You have
With a quadruple Dawn.
I thought it was just triple. Who was the fourth?
I think the fourth one was kind of just it panned out.
Oh, you know, you're right. You're right. Was it
And you're right. You're right.
And when you're right, you're right. And you're always right.
And Law starts by saying, Doflamingo, the deal is off. And he also says, Doflamingo drops a lot of, like, really important facts, like, in conversation in this. Which I think was the case when we were reading the manga as well. He says it's been 10 years since he's seen Doflamingo, which is an interesting fact. And I thought the funniest gag in this was Caesar's thing for Doflamingo. He had hearts streaming out of him. He was like, oh my god, Joker. I mean, for those who want to ship, I think this is the one opportunity where it might actually fit very well. I hate to endorse this.
You ship it?
You bought it. You ship it, you bought it? I don't know.
It's just his man crush, that's all.
It's his man crush. I mean, you could have a man crush. It doesn't have to be a thing. Anyway, Fujitora also adds... Doflamingo adds that Fujitora was added along with Green Bull. How do you say his name in Japanese? I don't even want to try.
Ryukyuju? Ryokyuju? I don't have it in front of me. That's like...
Yeah, I don't have
Ryokyuju.
Is it Kugyu? Okay.
Ryokugyu.
This is the best conversation ever, but...
Ryokugyu.
Ryokyuju.
Well, we were talking with Chris Sims about how it's tough to pronounce things like this.
Well, this name is so Japanese.
This is the most Japanese name ever.
Ryokugyu.
And the thing is, they're kind of stuck with the Japanese names now because they did Aokiji like in the English version. It's Aokiji, Kizaru, and Akainu. How the hell did I forget that? Anyway, I noticed in this episode a ton of new music, which was really cool. I don't know where or what album it came from, but I didn't recognize any of it. I didn't recognize a lot of it. And this scene is one as well. Anyway, Fujitora pieces things together. He's figuring out Doflamingo's role in the underworld. And at times, I thought this episode, I don't know if you agree, Steve, this is more your forte. I thought it had some really nice art, but not consistently. But when it did, I thought it looked really good. Not the animation necessarily, but the art.
There was nothing too glaringly off-model to me. It seemed like it was a decent episode. It looked fine.
Yeah. Anyway, I don't know why I added those notes in the middle of the episode. Anyway, now we find out that the Navy is targeting Law. If he lies and says that he
dies,
and says that that the Straw Hats are working for him, then he gets off scot-free. But if he says that he's working with the Straw Hats as allies, he is going to get crushed. He's going down.
That's such a technicality.
But it is. Welcome to government.
Welcome to die.
And Law, meanwhile, is kind of going through the rhythms. He's like, oh, wait, if I say I work, if they work for me, then I'm going to have to go to Dressrosa, and my ass will be kicked there with all of his subordinates, and it's going to be a lot worse. So he decides to tell the truth. And Fujitora is not happy about it. What did you guys think of this scene, the Fujitora scene here?
The big one where he summons the meteor.
Yeah, the meteor.
I thought it was really awesome. Like,
I thought it was done well too. Go ahead first, dude.
It actually impressed me because usually I kind of have a very low expectation for the anime. And just everything from the glare of the meteor in Doflamingo's sunglasses to it splashing down was just really impressive for the anime.
Steve?
I thought it looked cool. I guess I'm like, oh, I guess the shockwaves are purple. I guess it kind of makes sense. That's all I really have to say.
Okay, and so then we continue on...
Oh, wait.
Yeah, go ahead.
I just had science problems with it. That's all.
How do you mean?
Like, technically, it's not a meteorite until it hits the ground, so it should be a meteor. That and the One Piece atmosphere is really thin because that meteor should have broken up pretty much, like most of it should have broken up in atmosphere.
Yeah, I guess that would make sense.
And other than that, it's like,
well, it might not have if it were big enough. Like that's the whole thing with meteors.
That's true. It should have been like much bigger
because like the one in Russia, was much larger, which is why it survived to that distance. All right, I think it actually hit just in the middle of nowhere. Yeah.
I was more concerned about like, you think hiding in the bushes is going to protect you from a meteor impact? And no one in the Coliseum noticed. All right, that's me. That's from watching too much
using
Cosmos.
Common sense.
Dennis,
good show.
Too much Cosmos. I'm sorry.
You and your science. Science is like a blabbermouth who ruins a movie by telling you how it ends.
What was that from?
Sonny, what happened?
Oh, really? The same thing?
No.
Okay, so all that remained was a smoking crater.
I should say the rest of that line. It's, well, I say there are some things we don't want to know. Important things. So shut up about your meteorites.
So this scene, I don't know about you, but it felt very Dragon Ball Z-ish to me. I mean, the way it was executed. Which I think makes sense. It's one of like the biggest explosions I feel like we've gotten in the anime in like that kind of fashion, even in Marineford. Greg, what did you think of the meteor scene?
Oh, that I haven't seen.
Oh, you haven't seen it? Perfect.
Yes. Hello.
Hi. This is going to be all asynchronous. Anyway. We head toward Dressrosa, where we see the Frankie tank, which was, I think we were talking when we did the manga recap.
They must have stopped by a drive-thru.
I love they have like, it's basically a hands-free headset that Toy Soldier is providing there with the Denten Mushi in his hand. It's a hands-free transponder snail, which I did not notice. I don't remember if that was in the manga. Greg, I should ask you that.
I guess you could call it a Bluetooth headset.
Brilliant. That's all I have to say about that. I also love that as he passes by, the boy, of course, loves it, and the girl is completely unimpressed.
I love that running gag. That running gag is like one of the best.
Are girls truly?
It definitely is.
Are the girls truly not impressed with big robots?
Because in the mega
is that why so many of my blind dates have not called me back when I took them to the robot museum? But the robot, but it's giant.
You see, the Megas XLR theme said that chicks dig giant robots.
Yeah, that's why I'm confused.
I'm a little confused. Maybe it's when they get because Robin and Nami don't like them either. Anyway, Frankie,
he's basically making fun of like children.
Yeah,
because it's one of those kid things where like Luffy obviously is like the kid, and he's just like, every time he sees something, his eyes just sparkle and he drools, and the girls are always like, but it's not supposed to be like some kind of sexist thing, but more like boys are idiots. It's actually kind of making fun of boys, which is great every time I see it.
I know what boys like.
Okay.
Boys
it's giant robots.
So I like this line from Frankie too, basically putting his faith in the group and the ship. It's like, look, you might think Nami and Brooke and them are weak, but they're not.
He refers to Chopper as Monster
Chopper. Yeah, I love that line.
It's your new nickname, little dude. That's just how I picture that.
Yeah, I do as well. And Sanji, meanwhile, who is the one talking to Frankie on the other end of the transponder snail, notices on the television that Luffy is fighting in the Coliseum. And great dialogue between Frankie and Sanji here. Just like, yeah, I know. He's fighting in the Coliseum.
I'd love to see this transponder snail you're speaking of, though.
The hands-free transponder snail?
Well, only because the toy soldier actually holds it.
No, I know. That's why I was making a joke. It was because Frankie doesn't have to hold it. So it's hands-free.
He's got his hands full with beverages of cola and a burger.
He has the burger. He is so American.
Fifth anniversary special. Here's a little bit of interesting trivia. Cola in the One Piece universe is Mocha Cola.
Nice.
That's kind of funny.
Gross.
Yeah,
A
it's
little
you
gross.
can find that in the
color spread?
Davy back fight.
Ah.
Oh, and yeah, you're right. There also is what is it? One of the colors? Yeah, here it is.
Wait, is it
But I don't-
Mocha
I think it was
Cola?
On the cover of Eagle,
Mocha.
on the cover of Eagle, they're all drinking cola, and I think it's like Doka Cola on the cover of Eagle.
Maybe
Yeah,
they're
it's
the
Doka
competing
Cola and then
brands.
Mocha Cola. It must be their Coke and Pepsi.
Well, is
Must
it Mocha Cola, or that we're gonna call for a long time, and then realize it's pronounced Mocha Cola, and now Sai is gonna have to make an edit to our color spread and draw a bottle of Mocha Cola somewhere.
I don't know about you guys, but I'm going to take the Doka challenge.
I'm sorry, we only have Doka Cola.
Hell no. Violet
Now
does
water.
tell Sanji that the factory is disguised as a toy house, not to be confused with the guy chasing after her.
Right, the toy house guy. The guy with the head that's also a toy house.
Dude, is that Nobi Boy? Has anybody played that game? Does anybody
Oh my
know what I'm
God.
talking about?
I love Nobi Nobi Boy.
Right? It
Yeah.
totally looks like Nobi Boy.
It totally does. That's really funny.
So we had and then as Violet runs away from Sanji, basically, okay, we'll meet back at I forgot where it was, at the harbor, I think. Kinemon interrupts their beautiful moment, which is
With the
hilarious.
best thing. Oh, she says like, "Oh, you're such a good for nothing," and then that's when Kinemon comes in and is like, "Sorry to interrupt, good for nothing."
There's some great comedy in this section. I like it.
Kinemon's a professional cock blocker. What can you say?
He is. He's very good at it. We head toward the Coliseum. New music again, I believe.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of new music in this arc.
Yeah, I'm loving it.
I'm clamoring for a new album.
Oh yeah. All the
hear me
Spanish
clamor?
guitar things, riffs have been fantastic. Anyway, Luffy is kicking some ass, but first there is a bull and he moos. Who could it be, Steve?
To
The name of the bull.
the Buta Boo.
Yeah. Wasn't it Moosey also, or is that a different one?
It's
no,
the same
you're-
one.
That's the same one? Oh, that's what he names him, right?
That's his real, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're kind of jumping ahead.
I'm sorry. I'm spoiling.
Spoiler.
Oh my God,
Jeez.
spoiler.
God. Come on.
Even though that name Muthi is really offensive because that assumes that all bulls are female and cows. And
Well, he actually moos.
no, yeah, I know. That's
Which makes the pun
that's
even
me
better.
being stupid.
So after the commercial break, Brutal Bull and Luffy have a showdown. We have a flashback where we have
Showdown. They have a bullfight.
That's probably a better way to put it. We have a flashback where Brutal Bull kills more than half of the prisoners. That's the words that are used in the Crunchyroll translation, at least, which kind of took me aback. And it looks like the weird thing about this fight is it looks like they are the only two people in this room.
I know, right? There's so much space.
They're like, and you see no one in the background. It's just them.
And like freaking Luffy's doing his instant transmission all over the damn place.
I know. Anyway,
Anyone else notice the weird sound effect that Brutable makes when he headbutts people or when he rams people?
no, I didn't.
There was like a weird high pitched sound. I don't know what DBZ sound effect it came from, but if you get a chance to watch the episode again, you can hear it.
Anyway, I mean, you could probably guess what happens here. Steve, what happens? What does Luffy do? You have notes, right?
Yes, he used his Conqueror's Hockey, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he used that. The bull stopped. Luffy jumps on the bull's back. We are friends now. And they became friends. That is charisma.
That is definitely charisma. I like the transition from here to Green Bed. I think they have like the audio transitions over. And again, we see what happened a few minutes ago with the explosion from the meteor, and we see what actually happened underground with the Tontatas. Usopp, of course, taking credit for the shaking. It was his hockey that did it, obviously. And after, well, no, I won't even go into this yet. They offer Usopp some fighting fish meat. And, oh, right, Mont Blanc Nolan, there's a statue there, and that all happened.
Okay, that fish meat scene.
Yeah.
That's one of Usopp's lies, actually. And it's a little bit reversed. But back when he talks to Kaya, he says, "Oh yeah, and when I went to the land of the little people, I let them eat the fish of the giant goldfish." So it's actually his lie comes true, which we already thought came true because of the giant goldfish and the little people. Is no, here it goes again. Is the little people are feeding him the meat of these giant goldfish? Because you look at the fighting fish, and they're basically goldfish with bullheads. So again,
oh my God.
Usopp's lies.
Wow.
That's awesome.
I didn't realize that. I think I was gone for these chapters. I think I was on my sabbatical too. I would not have known that though.
I feel like the anime doesn't give all of Usopp's lies to Kaya. Like they just have a couple, whereas the manga I think goes more in depth and has a wider breadth of them.
There have to be like running out of them by at this point.
He still has. There's one from Alabasta that I'm waiting on. There's like some horrible monster that he told. I think right before they got to Alabasta. No, it's like some horrific. He even named it, and I can't recall it right now. But I'm waiting for that one.
Well, I'm guessing he's going to have hockey at some point too.
I'm hoping it was a chupacabra. That's when I took down the legendary chupacabra.
Let's see if I can find it.
The Tontadas explain that 400 years ago, Mont Blanc Noland came, fought with their ancestors, and freed them. And this is Leo speaking, and he says, "Today we are going to fight against the Don Quixote family with the help of Usoland, the hero." During this whole scene, Robin's reactions are hilarious, and of course,
her line is amazing.
Usoland?
Oh yeah. Well, there's that whole thing. Well, we go into the whole. Oh yeah, that's our fake names. We're gonna use these fake names because. Do you want to talk about the chestnut thing?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, yeah, so Usopp, the way he was able to lie his way, even though probably just him telling the Tontadas he was Nolan's relative, they would have believed him, but he was like, "No, look, I got the chestnut on my head. The chestnut!" And he has a little point in his helmet. They're like,
Lucky.
"You're white, he does." But that was a very Jewish-sounding Tontada right there. You're white. Look at the size of him. Look at the chestnut.
Look at the size of him.
Untie him already.
I'm getting verklempt.
There you go. That's how you do it. You got to do the Yiddish in the Tontada voice.
Well, Robin's line was great in the Crunchyroll translation. "You're a horrible person."
Yeah, that was a great line. So yeah, it ends with Usopp's very legendary face, which I think has become probably in his top 10 faces, which we should really do a top 5 on Usopp faces. Now I'm thinking.
You know what? That's an awesome idea.
Or at least just faces in One Piece in general.
But first we gotta talk about the Eye Piece arc.
Yeah, that's important. Don't worry, soon. So thoughts on this episode?
I wasn't as attached to this episode. I felt like more like I was just getting through it. Like I wasn't really looking forward to anything until the Tontadas. I think that's what I came here to see. I thought like the bull stuff. Yeah, I know a lot of the Coliseum stuff is going to get dragged out, and it's a good idea too. You could really fill a lot of time with action, and I think sometimes that's much more enjoyable than just like Buggy and Mr. 3 shenanigans.
Oh, God, don't even remind me of that. Oh God.
5 years of One Piece podcast. Go back to the beginning. Get a lot of that. But it's enjoyable. Like probably any fan that's just watching the anime probably just love the hell out of this. Love seeing Fujitori's powers and just probably got a kick out of Luffy befriending the bull. But I think just with the manga sometimes it does kind of hinder your viewing of it. But anytime the Tontadas are on screen, I'm hooked.
Cool. Dennis or Dude?
Sure. I, like Steve, also was waiting more for the Tontada interaction, but I did love the little throwbacks they had, especially going to the Skypiea nods. I felt like they just reused the Skypiea episode frames for those pictures. Not sure, couldn't really tell, but I did love
those. I think were redone because Skypiea came out before the widescreen switch.
So the redone shots, I thought that was a nice throwback. Along with, I don't know why I was cracking up hilariously out loud with Nolan in his superhero tights in the imagination
Yes.
of the Tatatas.
That was funny. Any other thoughts?
Animation was actually like I said earlier during the meteor scene. I was really impressed by it. I'm digging the new music in this arc. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought that in the manga, after Frankie mentioned that Brooke, Nami, and Chopper were stronger than they looked, that's when we cut to them getting completely fucked by Jola.
I think you might be right. I'm not sure, though.
And I think that's... I don't completely remember, but either way, if I'm wrong, then I'm wrong. But if I'm right, then also... whatever.
All right. Yeah, no, I have to agree with everyone here. I thought, par for the course, but this course has been pretty good so far. Dressrosa, I've been pretty satisfied with. I think... Oh, God, I feel like an asshole. I don't remember Caesar's voice actor's name.
Ryosei
Nakao.
Yeah.
He's continues to do an amazing job. I think he brings that character. I was looking forward to this part of Caesar, and I've actually enjoyed it a lot.
When Caesar's not a total bastard.
Right, yeah. When
he's just comic relief.
He's just completely comic relief.
He's harmless now. The kids are gone.
Exactly, has no one to hurt.
And he's got a new hat.
That's true. No, but it was a good episode. I did enjoy the fighting at the beginning, and I love Fujitori's power, so it was a lot of fun to see that in action. And also, this is like the most I think we've ever heard Doflamingo talk. Like, I feel, well, not ever, but it's the first time in a long time that we've heard Doflamingo talk to this length, and it's nice hearing the voice actor. He still, I think, sounds a little old for the character, but he still has a great menacing voice, so I can't complain that much about that. And I can't wait to see where the anime goes. I'm going to remain somewhat optimistic about it. Anyway, you guys want to get to the next segment?
All right.
Today's episode of the One Piece podcast is sponsored by Kolektakon. You can check them out at kolektakon.com/OnePiece, your source for One Piece Mega House merchandise. This is the final week of the Kolektakon One Piece podcast contest. Are you guys excited?
Yeah.
And ready.
You know that joke? Anyway. So all you have to do is go to Tumblr, write entry for the One Piece podcast Kolektakon contest, add your GIF, your One Piece GIF, put the URLs for One Piece Podcast and Kolektakon, and hashtag it OPPXKolektakon. The winner will get a free One Piece Neo DX Doflamingo Mega House PVC figure. It's a portrait of pirates. So really cool. So make sure to enter the contest and post your GIF. Meanwhile, you could go to Kolektakon and buy some cool POPs. Greg or Dennis, you haven't had or Dude, you haven't had the chance to pick a favorite if you want to look through and pick one that you would particularly like. Dennis is a great one to ask.
Are the Gold Roger POPs still in stock?
They are.
That's the one I'm looking for.
You're probably going to be buying it.
Most likely. I just got to put together funds first. Luckily, Kolektakon's prices are really, really competitive.
You're good at this, Dennis. Greg or Dude?
That giant Frankie. That the figures.
I agree.
Frankie, that's cool.
Dude?
Yeah, that Frankie's pretty baller. But the ones that are in stock, I gotta say, that Zoro's looking pretty sweet.
Yeah, that...
The Film Z edition, anyway.
Yeah. Definitely. Anyway, why don't we get back into the show? You guys ready?
Yeah.
Okay, definitely.
This is a probably supersized Greg No Go Guy segment. We are here, of course, with Greg. Hey, Greg.
Hi. It wouldn't be a Greg No Guy without Greg. Shoot me.
Yeah.
Did you just speed racer yourself right there?
Yes.
Like, ha ha ha, yes. it would not be Greg and Gougai without Greg. I'm Greg.
Aw.
I'm here. So
That's how everyone talks in Japan, right? Oh.
Aw.
God, I just want to point this out. Anyone, when they parody anime, if they still make that cliche joke, kill yourself.
Wait,
Because
we just did that.
anime hasn't been like that for like 20 freaking years.
Did we just do that, though?
Yeah, but... you know.
Shouldn't it? It should. I think it should.
I think it should as well. I agree with Greg.
Well, in the late 90s, early 2000s, things got very Canadian.
So we were oh God, no.
Oh,
Not
God.
going through that. So we thought it was a...
Mr. Leahy.
We thought it was going to be a little bit cumbersome to go through the arc, and, just like as a normal recap style. So what we're going to do, and a lot of people have been asking for this anyway, so I think it'll be pretty cool. We're going to go through OnePiece.com, Greg's articles that he has put a lot of time into. We're going to go through some of the things that we have questions about or that we haven't covered previously on the podcast, because a lot... there's some overlap that Stephen has been nice enough to point out in the past. You can check out all of Greg's art. Well, Greg, why don't you tell us a little bit about the site and where people could find these articles?
Sure, the site went up late last year, and it is an officially Oda Eiichiro sanctioned, or Eiichiro Oda sanctioned website. He does go through the website. He reads many of the articles. I know for a fact that he reads my articles, which is an honor. And when we met, actually, we discussed a little bit about, he was like, oh, yeah, I read your article, and, I didn't want that information to be out yet. So I was just, oh, no, I'm causing trouble for the person who writes One Piece. Crap. But it's an honor to be a part of this. This is unpaid. I'm not paid, but every once in a while they send me a big box of One Piece toys, so that's really fun. And I try to distribute them via contests on Twitter and whatnot. You can also find original interviews with a lot of the anime staff on the website, which William has been kind enough to summarize for fans. So I don't think my articles have really... I think Redon has picked in little bits and pieces here and there from them to introduce. But I don't think he does that anymore. So hopefully this will be kind of a unique and original kind of prize for the listeners here.
It's an
on your 5th anniversary. An exclusive 5th anniversary Greg Smorgasbord of Greg.
Do I have to try and spell that on the chapter title? Anyway, I'm not doing that.
It's episode title, Zach. Jeez.
No, don't make me do that. So we're going to go in chronological order-ish. Well, not quite. We'll tell you what date it's from, and you can check out the article. Why don't we start in November 6th's article, Greg? I'm going to ask first. You have a picture of who we now know as Kiros, the toy soldier, pointing at a map. What's going on?
Yeah, this was part of the background. And it's a look at the palace. Obviously, as in English, it says the palace, and it appears to be 5 floors. So you've got a 5th floor, 3rd floor, and then like a basement that goes down. That is what I was actually referring to, because this was the first article that I wrote that went up, and we were still getting used to this and how to get approval for them and who can see it and okay the article information. And when this went up, I guess Oda didn't want that to be settled yet, like how many floors he wanted the palace to be. So that was not really meant to be seen, even though it's in the background. It's very, very tiny in the background. As is it's kind of like a list of the Doflamingo family, or the Don Quixote family members. You can see that next there. You can actually see Doflamingo's glasses. Do you see that there? Next to the palace, to the left of the palace.
Barely. I'm trying to see that. And
then as it goes down, it's a chart. It's a chart of each of the 3 armies, which he actually then went on to draw for that big 2-page spread where they were all revealed. So that's what I was just saying. Like, wow, okay, so we've got a map of the palace, and it's going to be 5 floors. And when I met Oda, he was like, yeah, I didn't decide on the size of the palace yet, so we had to change some things based on your article. Oh, sorry.
Well, that means you kind of influenced the way it went, the way the One Piece world looks. That's pretty cool. And you also have a little bit. We discussed one of these in the article, so I'll do the one we haven't. You have a little spotlight on Sanji here.
Yeah, this Sanji was really cool from when he fights Doflamingo, and the reason for that is because both of his legs are in Diable Jump mode, which is something that we haven't seen before. We've seen his whole body light up a couple times. I think the first time was probably in Thriller Bark, where he lights up and then jumps off the side of a bridge or something.
Well, that's not me,
Yeah, and so he's lit up before. And on the right side, it's also showing him in Fishman Island arc, his whole body igniting. But when we see him fight Doflamingo, that's the first time both of his legs light up. So obviously, we have some more growth for Diable Jambe. I'm wondering if by the end his entire body will light up. And obviously, he's not going to use his hands anytime soon. But still, it would be cool if we got a white hot Sanji, and then he changed his nickname. That would be nice. White leg Sanji.
I like it. I'm surprised that hasn't changed yet. Okay, so next is the article from November 20th, and I feel like we have to start with the Wapol article.
Yeah, Wapol. Look at this here. We've got what's his name? Hakuwan. The little Hakuwan is on the left-hand side, and he was the little dog that Wapol made by eating a box and spitting him out when he was poor. And actually, this is going off on a tangent, as usual, as per norm in the Greg Gougai segment. But if you look at one of the newspapers, recent newspapers, I think, in the One Piece world, you see that it's a redrawing of Wapol, that one of those cover stories where I think he's shaking the hand of some like major business partner, and then it's actually a redoing of one of the covers from his story, his side story arc. So that means that this Wapol, all of his wealth and everything, actually took place during the 2-year time skip. So some of what we saw during that is actually in the future, way back during Skypiea. And anyway, back to Hakuwan. So he makes Hakuwan, and when this was actually too small to put in the article, but if you look at the garbage heap of toys in the scrap heap, Hakuwan's in there, not just once but twice, and he's hidden among some of the toys in the background. And the sad thing is that it can't be the original Hakuwan, because we already saw him in the side story with Wapol in his current Dark Kingdom, what is it, Dark Drum, I think. So we saw him there, but that's what that was all about. Is we saw him in the scrap heap. So maybe he was mass produced. I don't know what was going on there, but would be kind of interesting. It's
a good question. And the final one I'll ask about is in the March 5th article. And I have to first ask about the very first one you have there, including you holding up the 2 volumes.
This was, what was this? I think this was when Sabo had just come out. And yeah. Oh man, this was such a pain in the butt. When Sabo came out, like even you guys were careful about it, right? You called him like Mr. Cravat, even though everybody.
We didn't have to do it, but we were doing it to be annoying to people,
right? But I had to. So everybody was like, "Oh my God, it's Sabo!" But I still had to write my articles as if like, I wonder who it could be, and so I was like, Greg, I bet that it's. Yeah,
you could have brought Mr. Cravat to Japan. I mean, made him a real celebrity.
I think I might have in one of the articles. I might have like used the term they use for that hat in Japanese. I think I did write that one time.
Okay,
somewhere.
But it's not a hat.
Oh, is it?
No, the cravat's the what do you call it? The frilly.
Then like
get out! I always thought it was the hat. I never bothered to look it up.
Yeah,
it's like the neckerchief thing.
Neckerchief, yeah.
Oh,
which is why it's so ridiculous, that name.
Cravat is tie in French.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, we're all learning things today. But continue, Greg. Sorry.
Everybody my age gets that.
I get it.
So thank you. So yeah, I was like, I wonder if it's Mr. Minatomo-san, or I wonder if it's Sam Party Sam has appeared at the Coliseum. And why am I here smiling with the 2 volumes? This was my punny idea, but it's volume 26, which is what is it? Ni Do, and then volume 73, which is Na Mi. So it's Nico Robin and Nami. So I was like, yeah, you can have these 2 babes on both your hands. Now you can hold Nico Robin and Nami for yourself. So they wanted me there with like a shit-eating grin, and the two books between yourself, like I'm with Nami and Robin. So that's what that's all about, if you were wondering.
I totally got that from the Google translation.
And that picture wasn't embarrassing to take at all. Just wanted to let you know. So.
And I guess I have to ask about Lao Ji, because he's everyone's favorite character.
Lao Ji, unfortunately, is precisely what you guys discussed on the podcast. Just kind of illustrating that he is super fast. And it wasn't too clear, but I also brought up the cyborg Ji-chan Ji idea, which they allowed. I wasn't sure if they would allow the rights for that, but yeah, they allowed me to mention if he's possibly from that, inspired by that other manga.
And finally, we talked. I think we talked about this on the podcast, so we can make it brief. I think we talked about the different bottles Zoro was holding.
This was such a pain in the ass.
I could imagine.
Yes. No, I really wanted to do it. So I was like, guys, this is going to be a really, really long article. But do you mind if I do this? Because it'd be really cool if we could mention all of them. So it was like, yeah, sure. And they worked their asses off. I worked my asses off. But this was just a long time to compile this list with the images. Just going through. I mean, I think it's basically self-explanatory. Maybe some you might have missed. I've also labeled. So if you want to go through here, what is this again? It's the March 5th? Yeah.
Get March
article.
5th, yeah.
So you can go through and see which each of the attacks are, and there's also easy to understand pictures by each. So we've organized them for your reading ease.
Steve, articles you want to ask Greg about?
I feel like I get the gist out of some of them, but this one seems very random, so I'm just gonna ask, what's the deal with the polka dots?
Oh yeah, the polka dots is that was something in Dressrosa that I noticed kind of early on. It's like everybody has polka dots in the modern like Dressrosa. Like everybody has these circles, all these circles, and these polka dot patterns. And if you go back to 10 years ago, interestingly enough, yeah, there are polka dots, but there are also a lot of other designs that have, I don't know how to express it really, but that have the similar like repeated design. What is it, like paisley? I think it's not paisley the circle, but just like that repeated design.
I feel like Dennis may understand this kind of stuff more than me.
Well, paisley is that one that has like, it's kind of frilly. You see them a lot on like vests and things.
It looks like an amoeba, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Paisley's
exactly.
what Mihawk's got on his inner lining in his jacket.
Yeah, and
his sleeves.
Yeah.
And I had to look up all of this terminology back then, so I don't remember way back to March, but or whenever this was. But yeah, the idea was that 10 years ago they still had this repeating pattern in their clothing, but it wasn't just polka dots. And the idea is that now it's mainly polka dots. But you look at the king, you look at the people, that guy on the bottom right there. It says 10 years earlier. And he has repeating triangles. So this was probably something that Oda did unconsciously, but interestingly enough, probably makes perfect sense in the arc, is that in 10 years' time, the idea of fashion has changed in Dressrosa. So they've gone from having like these different designs to basically everybody has these polka dot designs. And, you know, I can't state anything like this happened because of XYZ, but I can only suggest things. I have to be very ambiguous in the articles and be like, maybe that's some of the influence from Doflamingo, or perhaps the fact that Senor Pink has that design, and he seems to be very, very popular with the ladies. So maybe he helped influence that design or help make it popular. I don't know. So that's what's going on there. and they allowed it. I didn't think they were going to allow that article because it was basically talking about some of the behind the scenes ideas that Oda may not have concretely decided. But no, they're like that's an interesting approach, and the editors approved it too. So I was proud of that one.
And actually, in the next one, Jola is wearing that kind of design too.
Yeah, she has that repeating design. I mean, it's probably something that he was just like, he was in Spain or saw something from Spain and was like, yeah, a lot of this design, and he decided to incorporate that. But in this next one, do you know what's going on here? Did you guys discuss this? This is cool. I don't remember.
Steve? I can't remember. I think I was gone during this point.
Probably
I think
get the significance of the positioning here, but
yeah, this is interesting. I should actually revisit this and try to think about what this is. But the meaning behind this sculpture that she makes, that depicts the tragedy of Dressrosa. I'd really like to try and see what this represents again.
I don't think I
the
ever
full
realized.
story.
Yeah, I think we
did. We did talk about it on the podcast. I think I was on for that one.
Okay. Yeah, I really need to look at this again and see if I can, since we know what happened in Dressrosa, see if we can figure it out.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Steve?
Anything else, Steve?
let me see here. Let me look at the other page I got here. Screw it. There's this one with Robin saying stuff.
Let's see.
Is she saying anything important? Or is the deciphering of what she's saying important? I forget what was going on in these panels.
Or as the Google Translate calls this, intention of gangs of straw level up. That may help.
Was that Hong Kong bootleg?
So basically what's going on here with Robin is I'm just noting kind of the subtle differences that we're seeing in the crew since they've reached the second half of Grand Line. I mean, I think everybody kind of can understand that all of the adventures in the first half of Grand Line and, of course, East Blue were mainly because Luffy was just like, hey, what's over here? Hey, I'm hungry. Or like, hey, I want my friend back. Right? But
that's Luffy's voice.
Yeah, from now on.
Hey, is there like a piece of land in the sky that you got over there?
So Luffy's now Lumpy Space Princess. Got it.
I kind of picture him more as like a special needs captain.
Oh, Jesus.
Hey, everyone, I'm gonna eat all the meat.
Like, no, Luffy, calm down. You just ate.
I want to eat it again.
That's the reason that they have to go along with everything you said.
Yes. Basically, if Luffy were a human, poor guy, yeah, he would be dead. Right. So, but in the second half of Grand Line, I noticed that the things are starting to change for the crew. They're starting to actually stand up and be like, we need to take a stand here. This is not right. And they're not heroes, but individually they are standing up for something that they believe in. So, for example, I gave in Punk Hazard, you had Nami, who basically wanted to be like, we need to get the fuck out of here. But then, like, the kids started crying, and her kind of motherly instincts kicked in, and she was just like, no. She's like, can you turn your back on crying children? And she stood up, and that was kind of cool. Then we've got Robin, who says something very un-Robin-like, in Dressrosa, when she hears about the things that Doflamingo has done, and she says, "What a horrible man," and then she's got this thought bubble with the exclamation point marks, and it's just like, wait a minute, what has she put together here? What has she realized? And I suggested that maybe she understood that how Doflamingo took over this country is quite similar to what Crocodile intended to do in Alabaster, and I think she realized that and feels sorry for what she did in the past, and which is why she ultimately says, "I can't forgive a man like Doflamingo," which is really strong for her to go out and say that because it's Robin. Like, she just doesn't get involved in shit that doesn't directly influence her. So it's that's why I think Usopp is also really surprised. So that she's gung ho for this. So it's just the small changes in the crew that we're starting to see in the new world.
If I could speculate, just I'll try and make it short. I think a lot of the broader things are indicating for the entire series. The Marines, not exactly the good guys usually, and the Straw Hats have been the good guys, even though they would be looked at as bad guys. And I think that's when we're looking at Oda's endgame. I feel like that's kind of what he's trying to set up. It's like, oh yeah, maybe they're not heroes, but they're going to be in the future. And I feel like this shows kind of that transition. But I don't know.
I think that's part of it. Luffy will never be a hero. Not a willing hero.
Right.
But, yeah.
Steve?
Okay. This last article I'm going to pick has a couple panels of Sabo dressed up as Lucy talking with Bartolomeo, and Bartolomeo's kind of yelling at him. And then we see some of the panels from Alabasta with Ace and his narcolepsy, a running gag that I wasn't necessarily a fan of because it kind of went nowhere. and then ended with a close-up of Sabo once again dressed as Lucy. So I'm curious, what is this talking about?
Yeah, this was a fun one to write. I don't think it will pan out because they allowed it, and it kind of covers things that might come down the line. So I don't think this will work out. But the idea was I can call him by his name, Sabo. I'm sorry, I've got like trauma. I've got like Sabo trauma. Sabo always calls Bartolomeo something weird, right? And what does he call him? He calls him like a Marine Colosseo and like Muscle Melon. And I just kind of said maybe the reason that he's calling him these weird names are because he can't hear properly out of his left ear. Because maybe we didn't hear where he first learned his name, but the second time he calls out, he's like, "My name is Bartolomeo." He's facing Sabo's left-hand side. And if you look at the scar where he got hit, it's also on his left eye. So I was suggesting that maybe something ruptured in his left ear when he got that hit from the something dragon, the celestial dragon, and that's why he can't. That's why he's naming him improperly, because he had that he suffered that injury. And the idea why the Ace is there is because Ace had like this, they call it in Japanese like a tsukomotokoro, like a weird part of you, like a weird part of your personality that you can make fun of. Like, I can't think of shit in English.
A quirk.
A quirk, yeah. The Ace had a very obvious quirk, which I know Steve doesn't like, but he would like fall asleep. And Sabo just didn't seem like a character fit for that kind of quirk. I don't know why, but he seemed like someone that wouldn't just like call someone by weird names. Maybe he will. Maybe that's just something that Oda hasn't worked in, or he has some bigger plan. But he didn't seem like someone ripe for that kind of treatment as a character. So I suggested maybe that the reason for that was because his left ear is actually injured.
Dude.
Yeah, okay. This one's for the December 18th article. And I'm... I guess if you can elaborate the usage of WoW.
Obviously, we all know that this fellow is supposed to be Steven Tyler, right?
Yeah.
I mean, even down to his hand patterns and everything. I mean, Diamante's totally Steven Tyler. And it's always like a little bit weird. Like, it stands out particularly to me. And I would hope all foreign fans, when Oda himself uses English in the comic. I mean, it's not something that the background artist, a very talented background artist that works for Viz does. This is actually Oda doing English, penning English. And I was just like, wow, it's strange that he would have him scream out in English like this, like, wow! And I imagine it also comes from the Steven Tyler kind of like, wow! Like, right?
That's a good impression,
yeah. Thank you. I'll be performing all week. going on tour. And yeah, it just goes back to like the Don from chapter 1 where he used English, saying that it's not something exclusive to this chapter. Oda does use it from time to time, but just as an English teacher, I'm always happy to see when he uses a little bit of English, albeit usually improperly.
Wow, it's perfectly fine there.
Yes, maybe not so much. What's his name? Sai.
Yeah.
Maybe not so much his use of English.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah!
So
I forgot about that.
All right, the next is from the January 22nd article. It's I guess the first one with the anime screen caps with the numbers. I'm not sure what's happening there, but I feel like we've covered that before.
Oh, right.
A little bit, yeah. I don't know if yeah, go ahead.
I think you guys did this. I think I made like a big deal out of this. I was really happy, and I listened to the podcast when you guys were talking about it, and you're like, yeah, we can now move on with our lives. It was the order that they asked where Mini Mary was. The order
That's
that they
right.
asked Mini Mary was. And I was like, wow, they actually elaborated on that in the anime. I was going to write about this the week prior because, what was it? I think Frankie or someone said like, oh, wow, Robin, you were the fifth person to ask about that. And I was like, whoa, wait a minute. That put up a flag because I was like, they didn't talk about that in the comic. I mean, they suggested that Brooke was the last, but they didn't talk about the other order. So I suggested my own order, and I went really in depth. I put a lot of work and thought into it, and I submitted it. And they were like, we can't run this because we're actually doing this next week. Like, oh, damn it.
That's really fun.
And I was wrong. Like, I think Luffy is the first to ask. I think I had him pretty far down on the list because he, like, even though he's, like, the captain, he is an idiot. So
As we have
I would just imagine he would. I should, you know what? I wish I had my list. I think I might somewhere. We'll bring that up on a slow week sometime.
I suppose
Rick's
you had
official.
Usopp Peg does the first.
Yes, I did. Totally did. Usopp was definitely the first. Good call. And Zoro, for fuck's sake, was not number 3. I don't know why they thought that would work.
Well, what was the actual order? Quickly, I guess.
The actual order is Luffy, Usopp, Zoro, Nami, Robin, Sanji, Chopper, and Brooke.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
So,
I feel like... Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, go ahead.
And I feel like we also touched on this. I don't remember if we touched on this during the podcast or if this is something that I just looked into outside of the podcast. But the entry right above it, I guess that's pertaining to tontadas that resemble the Straw Hats.
Yes. Yeah. It's the Straw Hats drawn as the One Piece crew. Love that little panel there. And this actually came about. I was able to discuss this with some of the assistants of One Piece. It was really cool. I had to ask for their permission. I was like, "Do you think it's cool to do this?" And they were like, "Yeah, go ahead. You have our permission." And talk with my editor at Toei, and I was like, "This is pretty big. This is like something that should technically be in an SBS. Are we okay to do this?" And they were like, "We think it's really cool. We'll try to get it passed." And eventually, yeah, we did get the okay on it. So I was really happy about that. And I was worried too, because I thought that this might take away some of the fun of the SBS. But like, it's amazing what people are able to find, like the stuff that I totally miss. And I feel like an idiot, but it's still like, wow, how do people find this? Is that girl who, like, on more than one occasion peeks at like Bartolomeo or something. It's like twice she's peeking out of her eyes to see stuff. And I don't know if you guys went over that in the last. Yeah. Like, totally missed that. But people still find things like that. So I was really happy about that. I felt really good.
So there's also a Panda Man one on the left there, I see.
Yeah, there's the Panda Man. There's a Frankie, or what appears to be a Frankie somewhere else. Yeah, so I think they're all in there.
Did they make it to... Oh, I guess we won't find out if they're in the anime for a couple weeks. Dude, yeah, please.
Yeah, so and this is from the April 2nd article, which I guess is the day after Usopp's birthday, so I'd like to ask about that Usopp entry.
All right.
I'm not. If you could elaborate.
Sure. Let's see. What was I writing about here? Oh, I think this was. I wanted to write more about Usopp, but because I was doing that huge section on the color spread, they were like, "We think it's a little bit too much. Can you just kind of do like a preview for us later on?" And I was like, "Oh, all right. I'll go back and do this." And what was it? Oh man. Oh yeah. It. He he tells them his real name. He's like, I'm Usopp, and that he's going to be the legendary man. But they still call him Usoland after that. The Tontadas, which was really cute. But what does this mean for them? Does this mean like that they've kind of leveled up? Because like they're supposed to believe anything, right? So if he tells them he's Usopp, they should believe that he's Usopp. Have they now like, even though they're idiots, do they still, are they like, we're not going to believe that you're Usopp? They're like, to us, you're Usoland. So that's the idea behind that.
So it's like that's the turning point for the Tontadas. Like now they won't be as gullible.
Yeah, even though they're still wrong.
And I guess this bit with the color spread, this is in regards to I guess English that's used in color spreads.
"Quote unquote" English that's used in the color spread.
Sorry. I'm skimming it as I'm.
Yeah. Thank you. Yep. I went over all the English in here. I think I talked about this on the last episode of the podcast with Sanji being a corporal.
Yeah.
I think it's Brooke and Sanji both have the insignias of the U.S. Army on their arms or on their uniforms, but they're turned upside down, so they're not exact copies. And what did I wrote about like Frankie and like how just that Frankie is awesome. Like I want the toys of that Frankie. I want like a giant Frankie because like anybody who was born who liked like 1980s anime, if you've got a robot and you've got tubes coming in and going out of a robot, then it's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, what is it? The Nami looks very similar to the Nami from that color spread, which they were kind enough to put up. And you guys discussed that too, so that was cool. Cool. So just some ideas about what some of the English could possibly be. Like Ack, maybe it's attack.
Could be my name. Yeah.
Could be Zach.
Yeah.
So he put that in there. That was actually my request. I was like, "Can you please do this for my buddy?" And he was like, "Sure."
Ack.
All's well that ends well.
His name's not Ack.
These almost didn't make it in, actually, because I'm kind of saying that Oda made mistakes, especially with the like it takes two to make a quarrel. It takes two to make a quarrel, which is basically like it takes two to tango, or
right.
Two people need to fight. They were like, I don't know if we can put this in because his English is incorrect here. But the editor okayed it. Mr. Onishi was like, that's all right. So made it in. I was really, really happy about that. And I'm doing a similar thing for the most recent color spread as well.
Oh, cool.
That we talked
Very
about
cool.
last week.
Right. The Gomu one with the monkeys that he totally stole from Sai. I mean, let's be honest. Dennis.
Also, if you don't mind, I'll just go back
please.
to one thing. And this is unfortunately kind of a tease, but I hope people will enjoy and get some major speculation out of this. In the January 22nd, I think, article, I think that's what it is, down here in the anime section at the bottom, you see Kinemon, and he's just kind of like, "Rah!" And then Momonosuke is turned into a dragon. The original, basically, it's like, is there a link between Kaido and the samurai? And it's like, why did Kinemon freak out when he heard the name Kaido, and why was Momonosuke so surprised by the name that he turned back into the dragon? Because I think we know the thing about Momonosuke now is whenever he's surprised, he turns back and forth, which is kind of why that devil fruit, I guess, was a failure, is he doesn't seem to have perfect control over it. It's only when he's surprised.
But that's, I guess, that's indicative of most devil fruits, though, right? You have to kind of, you have to get to know your power, I guess.
but then I mean we've got, and obviously he's on the high end of the spectrum. But my next article is actually about Sabo, and why within a matter of seconds he's able to not only control but freaking outdo Ace's, or sorry, I got to be ambiguous. Potentially outdo Ace's Fire Fist. So what is it like? Kaku, right? Like Kaku, we saw him have some trouble controlling, right? But it wasn't like he could only turn back and forth when he was surprised. This is something that's been very long-term for Momonosuke. So that's potentially why it's a failure. We don't know yet, but that could be the reason why it's a failure. It's only when he's surprised.
Huh.
But anyway, back to Kaido. This original article was about 4 paragraphs, and they're all cut out because I speculated a lot about what this could possibly mean. And unfortunately, all of that speculation was dead on for what's going to be happening in One Piece in the next year or so.
Wow.
In terms of bigger picture, bigger movements, and
that's even more wow.
So while I can't discuss that, and I apologize for that, I hope if you're listening and you like to speculate and talk about fan theories and things, if you think that there's some connection between Kaido and the samurai, you are definitely on the right track, and speculate away, because things definitely seem to be heading in that direction.
That's like a quasi-spoiler. But it's a speculatory spoiler, I guess. Dennis, questions for Graham?
Okay. So I was just trying to look through some of the stuff on, let's see, what am I at?
February
5 article. I'm assuming that the first image is just a rundown of the entire Don Quixote family hierarchy, I'm assuming.
All right. Just as I go through my files here, one moment. This is where we play intermission music. Don Quixote family. Yes, this is kind of what I was talking about. We're going back full circle. In the beginning, that kind of breakdown of the Don Quixote family, the chart that connects all the members. Yeah. Nothing special, just kind of going through it and being like, oh, wow, happy to see all these relations, and a little bit of speculation about what each army or unit specializes in. Where you've got the, what is it, Trebles is like, they're all special powers, and Diamante are all fighters, so they're all in the Colosseum, they're famous in the Colosseum, and then we've got Pika, who is like an assault squad. I like to think of them as the Vipers, the Viper assault squad, and they're basically the ones who, and I think even Steven mentioned this, where they can go out and do overseas attacks and things. I don't know why Pika would want to go anywhere else, because he's so huge and he stands out, and he makes that castle a weapon, which is so awesome. I'm going into a little bit more recent material here, but Pika is crazy. Pika is like definitely Paramount War material. Just thinking, actually, I was thinking about the other day, that Smile Factory raises up out of the ground, right?
Right.
In order to raise that up out of the ground, he can't touch that factory because it's made out of sea stone. So he has to pick up the ground. I mean, like if he could make part of his body, like his shoulder or something, he could just like stand up and it would come up automatically. But he has to take the ground underneath it, since he can't touch it directly, and bring up the ground as well. And the mass, I think, the mass of dirt is so incredible that like it's only 100 feet down, like 100 cubic feet is equal to like the weight of the entire Empire State Building, is I think a figure that I was given back in high school chemistry or geology or something. So he has to pick all of that up and bring, and obviously Oda's not thinking of this, but he is thinking that like, yeah, it's got to be freaking heavy for him to pick up and carry. So Pika is insane. I have no idea how they're going to stop Pika. He's a monster, no question about that. But yeah, I was really happy that we got to see that spread finally of all the Don Quixote family members and organized into their units.
I guess next, I also had some thoughts about the whole Thunder Soldier using his rifle more as a close combat weapon rather than actually firing it.
Yeah, absolutely. That was back at this point was pretty much everyone at Toei was like, yeah, we know it's Kuros, but we can't say that. It was another kind of Sabo thing. And I mean, of course, here on the podcast, I think we speculated that way back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was just another thing, kind of tongue-in-cheek, like, oh, look at this. He's not really firing his gun. He does sometimes, but he mostly uses it as a weapon. I wonder why that could be. You're kind of scratching your chin. Yeah. That was all there was to it.
Yeah, it was completely wrong on my prediction. I thought, like, maybe he has, like, 1 or 2 sea stone bullets that he's trying to save.
Oh.
So he doesn't want to fire his gun. But that all obviously got thrown out the window.
Yeah. What's next?
For the next one, you have all these... the first article is just, like, looking up, I guess, the color spreads here.
This
leading
is
up
for
to
February 19th, right?
February 19th, yes. Just, I guess, what's the correlation between these color spreads, especially with the SOS to the world from Message in a Bottle from Police, along with the wanted posters underneath.
What was this? I think I was talking about. Oh, they wanted me to just talk about volume, like recent volume, like the what was it? Volume 73 was going on sale, so they wanted me to talk about the previous volumes. And I love it when they give me a topic, because it's just like, then I just have to prepare for that topic. Like 90% of these are just me being like, oh crap, what can I write about that everyone's going to find interesting? But when they give me a topic, it's just like, yay, okay, fine, I'll do it. And they were like, so yeah, write about volume 72 and 73. So I picked what I liked out of 72 and 73, which were the color spreads. And my favorite color spread from 2013 was, without question, the Mermaid Cafe, because we got to see a canon location. And even though, we can't know whether these events happened or not, it's kind of in that weird gray area. But this is what the Mermaid Cafe definitely looks like in Oda's head. And I was happy to see that. But in addition to that, I mean, that's alone is that alone puts it on a pedestal in my head. But we've also got all of the characters doing these crazy things, and it just tells this fantastic story. Dude, I don't know if it hit you the same way, but this color spread was just phenomenal, even down to the drinks that the bartender is mixing. And it took me forever. Did I talk about this on the podcast? Like how many arms?
I think you talked about it with us
mentioned
in
the
Boston.
drinks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
on the podcast.
Yeah. Well, actually, I told Alex about this because it's the reason why this conversation even started is because it was my desktop, and we were in Boston. We were just standing around my laptop. We just started talking about the color spread. And
Oh yeah, that's right. We were talking.
I
about
did tell Dude that we were doing that, because then I started showing him some things like, oh yeah, we talked about that drink and that drink. And
It feels like it was on the podcast,
Yeah.
but that's just because it was us talking about it.
That's because it's in real life. Yeah. So yeah, if you obviously you weren't there unless you placed a bug in our room, you creeper, you.
Well, Steve gave me
You weren't
this,
supposed to find that.
If you look at all their drinks here,
someone really just wanted to be part of the show again.
if you look at all their drinks, they all have themed drinks, and some of the drinks that the bartender is pouring actually have like sea themed names. Like one of them is like kelp, I think, and what is it, like maybe a fish name. They all sound horribly disgusting. I mean, like you'd never want to drink. It's kelp whiskey, I'm sure, but just the detail in it is great. And then I go down to this other color spread from chapter 703. And while not my favorite from the year, I also love this one too, just because I go into it's the quote from Message in a Bottle. Do I even say where it's from? I don't think they allowed me to say.
Yeah,
they didn't allow me to say
in a bottle. Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't allow me to say which band it was from, but they allowed me to say the title of the song. So Oda quoting again song lyrics in his title,
Yeah, I love
which
that.
he does from time to time, and also the fact that Nami is wearing a shirt with it's a little bit of, I guess, a Dragon Ball tribute. It's got the ball written almost exactly the same font, and then a star on it. Oh. And I suggested that that shirt contains probably not Earth-sized Dragon Balls, but perhaps Namek-sized Dragon Balls.
Yeah, I definitely wasn't looking at
Hi-oh.
So, sorry about that, but Toei loved that. I thought they were going to cut it, but they were like, no, we'll leave that. So
it's a good joke. Considering.
And I apologize. And then I looked at the wanted poster from the Thunder Soldier at the time, Kyros, and just the fact that his wanted poster does not have Dead or Alive on it, which is similar to Robin's wanted poster not having a Dead or Alive on it. So I guess they didn't want to kill him, because if they killed him, perhaps they'd remember him. I don't know. I guess we don't know exactly how that works, right? He hasn't gone into detail.
That's a good point.
Sugar's powers.
Yeah.
I think the wiki says like, oh, if they're dead, then they stay dead. But like, we don't know that yet. We don't know that for sure.
What if they died and then reverted back to their non-toy form?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
cool.
What's next?
Let's see. So many things to ask.
I think we talked a little bit about the next one, about the British influence, I think is the next one, right?
Okay.
Yeah. We did talk about that, and it's just the idea that perhaps Ranmo is the One Piece world's like Europe, like UK, perhaps, and that we might have even seen Ranmo in this color spread. That might have been Oda's idea for Ranmo.
The color spread being the one with the Big Ben in the back, and they were on the teapot floating.
Yeah, if you compare
676, chapter 676.
If you compare them, the clock towers are slightly different. But the idea remains the same, that perhaps this is what this idea he has in his head.
I kind of hope we see that. That would be that'd be cool to see UK in the One Piece world. What's next? Sorry to steal the spotlight there, Dennis.
I'm jumping now to the next article that I have, which is April 23rd. I think you made mention of this earlier in this actual discussion, talking about going into further detail with Usopp.
Yes.
So another full circle conversation.
Yes. Well, this is good. This is the most recent one that's available online. The next article is already written, and I'm writing the next one right now. But this is something that I wanted to do for a long. I don't know. I was on like a break, so it's not very timely. This is actually quite a while back. What chapter is this on now? It's like chapter 741.
741.
Yeah, it goes all the way back to like 741, and it was just because I guess they gave me a break. Cut me a break. Give me a break, please. And thank you, Zach. I felt that. I felt that in the heart hole. And it was just the idea that, like, I got a feeling there was going to be a lot of negativity towards this battle, or towards the battle that happened but we didn't see. And I wanted to kind of quelch that, because it is such a cool way that Oda portrayed it in the manga without wasting time. And I think Steven and you guys addressed this pretty well on the podcast. But it was just the idea that he didn't betray fans by doing it this way. Sure, it would have been cool to see a lot more of it, but it would have felt like a betrayal if we went through the entire battle. We spent, like, let's say a week and a half, let's say a full chapter and a half on this battle between them. And then it ended up as it did, with him basically losing. I mean, he did lose. But the point is that Usopp forgot about Robin. All right, we know that he forgot about Robin. But the fact he stood up for someone that wasn't a crewmate. So not having Robin in the picture, he stood up for the Tontatas that didn't have any relation. And that's huge for Usopp. I mean, we've only seen him stand up for people that either it's been like a captain's orders or something that he felt very, very, very attached to, like Mary. But this is the first time where people were like, help us. And he said, but there's no way I can win, but okay, fine, I'll do it. And he went back and stood up. And that's a huge growth for him. That's the battle. That's everything right there. That's 90% of it. The fact that we didn't get to see the actual battle, whatever. I mean, him going back was so cool, and that speech that he gives before the fight was awesome. It totally won me over. And I have a feeling that people who didn't like that, when they saw this ending, they were going to be like, "Oh, I hate Usopp now." But that's what I wanted to say is basically put it in perspective and say, if you think it's too short, no, it would have been a betrayal if he drew it out and it still had the result of him losing like that. And I was basically arguing for Oda and trying to explain what Oda probably did. So that was my whole Usopp diatribe.
What's about?
And then, and I also suggested Toei. Since it wasn't in the manga, Toei, it's up to you now to do that battle. So, yeah.
Wait, but then wouldn't that be going against what you just said?
No, because I hold Oda's. I love Oda's work the best, obviously. So I'm glad that he did it that way. But it would be cool for fans to just like like the kids that because One Piece is popular with the children, with the little ones.
What?
And for them, it would be cool, right? What?
For the children.
For
Children.
them,
Children.
Hello, children. How about some Usopp? Liar? Why liar? Okay.
Randy.
Thank you.
But no. Yeah. It would be cool for the younger audience to see what happens. And when they get older, they can become a nerd like me and talk about the motivation of an author.
Aw.
Dennis?
Sorry, keep going.
No, that's it.
Just looking at the next article, which just has just a ton of manga panels, so you don't have to go too in depth if you want. I'm actually more curious about why do you have panels with the return of poor Chemi penis face?
Wait, I didn't even see that in there.
Wait, do I?
Where?
Where is?
Yeah, you have Ace's flashback.
Oh no, that's not poor Chemi. That's Blue Jam.
Oh, it's Blue Jam. Shit.
His face,
son of a gun.
His face is penis.
His face is not.
I mean, he's Blue Jam penis face. And it's pronounced penis face. I mean,
Penis face, my bad.
That's right.
that's all the way at the bottom there.
Yeah, down in the anime. Okay. What was this in the anime section? Oh, this was okay. This is another super nerd, but that's what the people go for. So I do it kind of thing. But it's in that episode of the anime, Chinjao talks some smack about his grandfather and his father, and it doesn't faze Luffy at all. He's just like, I gotta get away from this guy. He's crazy. Whereas Ace. Whenever somebody talked bad about Gold Roger when he was a child,
Marty McFly.
He went on, who are you calling son of the Pirate King? He would go all Marty McFly and beat up people and not be able to turn his back on them and eventually die because of that.
Just like Marty McFly.
Yeah.
Did I spoil that for people?
Marty.
So the idea was that even though they're brothers and they have similar ideas and ideals and things, they're still very different. And it's just interesting that Luffy creates this world with characters that think similarly, act similarly, but still have very different ideas about family and what it means to stand up. I mean, Luffy obviously would not let anybody talk crap about his crewmates, or probably Ace, but anything about his parents or his grandfather doesn't faze him. And I think you could argue a little bit more in favor of the parents, like his father not having any reaction to that because he didn't even know he had a father until Water 7. So yeah, that makes sense. But still, his grandfather. He's just like, whoa, this guy's crazy. He doesn't be like, what did you say about Garp? Which would probably drive Ace off the wall. So,
did Luffy honestly think he was born from midichlorians or something like that?
That's probably where his mind went.
Midichlorians. I was born with my mommy midichlorians.
Just before we wrap up, I have I think one or two quick questions on the previous article with everything. We talked a little bit about Kanjuro. And I think that this article touches on it a little bit more.
Oh yeah, the fact that we have, I see, like, they're so weird that they let me write some things, and then they allow some and not others. I mean, that's whatever, but it would seem to be that this mysterious shadow character here is Kanjiro, because we got a hint that he was in the scrap heap, right? And we've got this silent ... indicating that might actually be a kimono that we're looking at there, the ruffles of a kimono, and that might be Kanjiro, who's kind of chilling out in the garbage heap.
And I'll posit the last question, which is, why are you doing a retrospective of Luffy jumping through windows?
Just because. No, I wanted to work in somehow that when Luffy jumps out that window, where he falls down by that pool area is what we first saw from Dressrosa, where Doflamingo was on that couch.
Yeah, I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, so it's that pool area, and I just wanted something to link that together. So I was just like, I was just thinking while I was writing the article, I was like, it's funny how many times Luffy actually crashes out a window, and I decided to write about that, and they were like, that's pretty damn funny, so we'll leave that in. So yeah, you've got like him rescuing Zoro's swords in chapter like something early,
like
and
6 or something. Yeah, early on.
And then in Water 7, he's crashing through the window when he escapes Galila Company. So
I feel like it happens other times too. That's definitely how he makes his entrance sometimes, or exit. Yeah. Probably more often exit. Well, Lucci threw him through a window, right? Yes. That's it. That happened recently on Toonami. That's why it's in my head. And then he got stuck in a building for 10 episodes. Anyway, Greg, this was really, really informative. And it was a good way to go through Dressrosa with you, since we haven't really... you've been very, very busy, understandably, writing articles such as these. And traveling and your life, Greg.
One article usually takes about a little behind-the-scenes information on Greg's articles that you care about. Usually takes about 5 to 6 hours to put together an article. Wow. Just thinking about scenes to write, and with my horrific Japanese ability, how to make it interesting and unique and not use the same language again and again and again. And then review. And I send them in, and they get approval from Toei, who sends them to the manga media editor. And he sends them back and says, yay or nay. And then they go up. So yeah, I'm about 2 articles ahead right now. So
cool. So if you haven't, check out his articles at one-piece.com/special/Greg. I think that'll get you there. We also of course comes full circle. We also of course tweet them and link them. They'll be on the description for this episode. So check them out. With that, you want to get into the next segment?
Yeah. All right.
This is the Piece Together segment where we take your questions, comments, and theories. Everyone's still here. We have Greg, Steve, Dude, and Dennis. Hey, guys.
Hello. So,
why don't we start out on Reddit? And I asked early, so I think we have a ton of questions to go through here. This one says, this one's from Jathaman, something like that. Which of the unresolved cover stories, CP9, Eneru, Caribou, do you want to come back to the story next, and which one do you think is most likely to become relevant next?
Caribou needs to stay very far away. I don't have to see Caribou for a very long time.
I think we all here hope that
I had enough of him when he was originally done, and then when he was back, I'm like, oh yeah. Oh no, this is fun. I want to know where he goes.
Steve, what do you think is most likely to come back next? Or that you want to come back next?
My answer to both questions is Eneru.
I think CP9 is likely to come back. At least Lucci. Or, I mean, we were looking through the OnePiece.com articles, and it showed that it was debunked or something, that Lucci was the underworld person, Greg?
Oh, yeah, according to the anime.
Yeah, so maybe not. Because
Well, because in the anime, I think when that character spoke, if it was obviously Lucci's voice actor, then everyone would have been like, dot, dot, dot.
Well, he also had like a mustache and looked completely different in the anime.
Like, in the anime, yeah.
Any other thoughts, anyone?
I tend to agree. It's like Hope Eneru, most likely CP9.
Yeah, I think that's...
I hope Django. I mean, like, yeah, CP9's probably the most plausible, but I really want Django and Fullbody to come back in the fray and be huge Soul King nuts and just worship the ground he walks on.
They were in the cover stories, right? The, what do you call them? The 2 years
Where
later.
are they now?
Yeah.
Oh, the Where Are They Nows. Okay, I thought you meant just the cover.
Were they?
No, I think they were, weren't they?
No, they were not.
Oh, they
No,
were?
they were not.
Okay. I thought
But they were in two different cover stories.
Yes.
There, of course, were in Django's.
And Baroque Works.
Damn it. I was going to quiz these guys.
Use that.
You're going to Quiznos? Yes.
It's better than Subway. Matthias Todd 21 says, I just want to say listening to your podcast helped me impress a panel at an anime convention. I love the insight you guys give. Seeing how Sabo's Dragon Claw works and how hockey works, do you think Monkey D. Dragon might not have a dragon fruit at all?
I never thought he did.
Yeah. I didn't think he did either. We've always said wind.
Yeah, I always thought it'd be like the Kaze Kaze no Mi.
I always thought wind or nothing.
Mm-hmm. It's not like Doflamingo ate a flamingo fruit. That'd be pretty silly. It's not like Buggy the Clown ate a bug fruit.
Now I really wish Doflamingo ate the flamingo fruit. I'm just disappointed.
It turns out flamingos can control people all along.
I knew it. That explains the state of Florida. Go ahead.
I would like to know more on how listening to us impresses people at anime cons. So yeah, I've seen this series like 7 times. I know the back of my hand. Ooh, oh yeah. Well, I met this voice actor several times. He remembers me. Ooh, I listen to the One Piece podcast. Unofficial podcast talks about One Piece every week. Oh my god, he's so cool. Yeah.
Well, hundreds of episodes in. You listen to all of them? Oh my god.
Cellar Dwellers asks, just a theory, just wondering if it ever crossed your minds, but Luffy set sail and he said he'd get 10 crewmates. I recently reread the Water 7 arc, and am I right to assume that the Going Merry was an N-word? A crewmate, I think is what he meant.
The N-word.
Not that N-word, the other N-word.
Yeah.
What you talking about there, Zach?
If so, does that make the Sunny...
Wow, you're going to keep that in. Ballsy, okay. Wow. Yeah, because we all know what first popped into my freaking head.
Naggers.
I know what it is, but I don't think I should say it.
Randy.
Should I continue?
Guess.
Does this also make the Sunny one of the crewmates?
I'd say so. Yeah, they always refer to the Sunny as via an article, like as a thing with a gender.
Yeah,
they refer to it as a she, right?
I think. Well, boats are supposed to be she's
naturally, but
I don't know if in Japan.
I can't think of any specific example now where they refer to the Sunny as a he or a she.
I don't know if it would count among those 10, the 10 crewmate thing, but maybe. Next one comes from Perks. What do you think the chances are that Sanji and the others end up being captured by Big Mom, and that Sanji agrees to cook for her to keep the others safe or set them free? It seems like the only thing he has left that might save them if Big Mom is really on that ship.
I think the cooking thing is very interesting. That could lead to some funny stuff. But I did predict that it's possible that they'll get captured, because there's no way when they reunite with the Twirly Row pirates, they're going to say, oh, yeah, Big Mom showed up and we beat her. Yeah, turns out she wasn't that big.
There's so much stuff going on in this. The 2 emperors in the background. Well,
yeah. The one thing they do have going for them is Nami is with them. And if Big Mom is on the ship, Nami does have that Vivre card, I don't know, liver card, Viver card.
Yeah.
That was given to her by Lola, which is probably the Big Mom's Viver card.
So you do support that theory that not necessarily that Lola is genetically by blood her Big Mom's daughter, but is it somehow affiliated with her?
Yep, I think it's pretty clear at this point. She calls her Mama, as do many of the other characters that are her underlings, her crewmates. So they all call her Mama. And
it was right after she was introduced.
She's a bad Mama Jama.
She's a big Mama.
Jama.
Big Mama's house.
Boss Aesop writes.
You went there.
In light of the latest One Piece episode, I've been wondering how increasingly germane Mont Blanc Nolan will be to the plot in the near and distant future. I expect Nolan will definitely be a benchmark and foil for Usopp's character, especially as someone else elegantly put it, Nolan is the hero called liar, while Usopp is the liar called hero. But what role, if at all, will the legend of Nolan serve as far as the Straw Hats' journey is concerned? Will they be unknowingly retracing Nolan's voyage 400 years ago? What is Nakrawa, an island of dreams that the Monkey Mountain Alliance is searching for? And will Luffy and gang meet up with them soon? I really like this question.
I just have one question for you.
He's not here, I was just reading his question.
Well, maybe he'll respond to us in the future. I just have one question. Who is Jermaine?
Jermaine Jackson.
Jermaine is a word that means relevant.
Hey, Zach, that's the rotting corpse of my joke. You killed it.
Greg, what do you think?
Well, like most characters, I imagine that he will come back into the story at some point with the, what do they call it? The Monkey Alliance? Sorry.
Saurayama.
Is that? Did they actually call it that?
The Saurayama Alliance.
Yeah, they actually called it that in the dub. Yeah.
Wow. All right. So yeah, I guess they're going to meet up with the Saurayama Alliance again, as they will with many characters, late in the story. But I don't know. I mean, Nolan he's a huge character. He in the history of One Piece. He seems to have known quite a lot about the world. But I think him coming in here was more of a convenience and something cool for Oda to do with his story, rather than something of actual importance to the core of the story. So I don't think that he'll play that much of a role. That would just be my guess based on the placement and the portrayal of him in the overall story. But it would be interesting if he created a larger role for him. But I think this is pretty much it. However, one thing I will say is that I think that because Usopp said he is related to Nolan, then might find somehow down the line that he is related to Nolan, making him and Cricket, is it brothers? Unknowing
cousins,
not brothers, not brothers for God's sake. Yeah, cousins or something distant.
And any other thoughts? I like this theory, actually. I think I would go somewhere between, him being very important and him being not at all important. Or like not very important. I think we'll definitely be hearing of him more in the future, because he obviously played a pretty pivotal role in Dressrosa's history, which is interesting. Anyway, next question. Law Trafalgar 2 says, so I was watching the episode of Mary, and seeing Usopp leaving the crew again reminded me of a theory about Zoro doing the same. He credits Firefish Shanks 1 for this theory. At first, I just was not able to imagine this happening, but rereading it now seems possible that in chapter 438, Zoro says that he'll be the one leaving the crew if Luffy loses his dignity. This was when he wanted to ask Usopp back, right? Let's something important like leaving the crew just get swept under the rug. He didn't So Zoro didn't approve of that. Maybe this was really early foreshadowing. I also found it a little bit strange when in the Punk Hazard arc, Zoro told Luffy, "Don't be careless, the new world starts here," in chapter 678. I find it possible, although not very likely, that maybe in Wano Kuni some conflict between Luffy and Zoro developed that could lead Luffy leaving the crew and staying there. What do you guys think of this theory, or do you think someone else could leave the crew? I'd love to hear you guys talk about this.
It wouldn't be Zoro.
You just said Luffy leave the crew.
Yeah.
Zoro, I meant Zoro.
Yeah, like Luffy. Yeah, it's like Luffy.
That's my fault.
Guys, I'd rather stay in the country. Samurai.
Because they're all really...
Stay here. They're samurai.
Oh my god.
They cut up the bad guys with their swords.
What do you guys think, though?
I don't know.
That's stupid.
We just got through with like 2 years without the crew. I don't think that we're gonna get into that sort of thing anytime soon.
I think we're done with that kind of plot device.
And out of all the characters, Zoro, the guy who pretty much practically threw his life on the line for Luffy, and the same guy who said, "Hey, we're not just going to welcome back the guy that walked out on us. He has to, beg for not beg for forgiveness, but like
has to apologize.
Apologize." And then that's the guy. And let's disregard movie 5. Haven't seen it, but I heard all about it. But let's disregard that. Disregard that. Zoro is the least likely to pull that move. He is Straw Hat for life.
I think the people who were... Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I don't completely agree. I think that if he felt that Luffy did something that contradicted his core beliefs, that he would leave the crew instantly. But he also knows that Luffy is not someone to do that. So it would be a very, very difficult position for him to make a decision like that, and I can't see that happening. But him with his very, I guess, Japanese male kind of traditional standards for what it is to be a man, I could see him leaving the crew in a heartbeat if he felt that they were betraying his core beliefs. But I don't think they will ever do that.
All right, let's go to the next question then. This one comes from Duperco, who says, in Chapter 700, Kinemon says that the party consisted of 4 in total, including Momonosuke. So when they rescue Kanjuro, that means that there's still 1 samurai missing. I think he was captured by Kaido and taken to Zou, which explains why Kinemon freaks out when hearing Kaido's name. I think Zou is an important island for Kaido since it kind of sounds like zoo. That's an interesting idea. Anyway, it could end up that one of Kaido's officers is on Zou and might end up kidnapping a Straw Hat. My guess is Chopper for his Rumble Balls, and this could segue into a Kaido arc or immediately start the Kaido arc if he manages to show up. What do you guys think?
That's an interesting theory. One thing I would just suggest is that Zou... It doesn't actually refer to the English zoo, but Zou actually is the Japanese word for elephant. So,
Oh, right. I think we mentioned that before. I think Steven mentioned
interesting idea.
It's good theory. Let's see. This one is a lot in Japanese. I will send it to you guys, but I'll go to the next one for the moment. J Mills says, how many times have you all read or watched through the series?
It's a good question.
Can't really say
from start to finish.
I can't really say yeah.
I've read probably like 4 times. That's not a lot, obviously.
Well, it's a long series.
Yeah.
I think I've maybe done one reread all the way through, and that was years ago.
Yeah, me too.
I always go back, and sometimes I read through arcs, but I haven't done like a big start from the very beginning read through in a long time.
Yeah, I think when Viz was doing the speed up, not like I went back and read the previous volumes, but I was reading the volumes as they came out, and when I would get some of the older ones, I'd read through them again. But I haven't, read through the series in years. And most of the anime, most of those episodes, I've only seen about once. you try watching all those episodes.
It's tough.
Well, in terms of a rewatch, I've definitely like when I only had the Hong Kong DVDs or whatever, I would watch the shit out of those.
Yeah, me too.
And so I've seen like the first like 80 episodes like a lot. And then when
anything
Funimation
on
released
DVD, I've watched a ton. Alabasta I haven't watched in years, but usually
anything after Alabasta I've watched like maybe once all the way through, and now I'm like going back and rewatching Enies Lobby for the first time in like almost 8 years.
Most of the new DVD sets, actually any of the DVD sets that come out, besides like the all filler ones, I watched usually a few times. But like never like, I'm gonna start from episode 1 and watch through all that, because that's like I might as well just shut myself in.
Greg, I posted in the chat. It's somewhat in Japanese, so do you want to read this question from? This is also from Boss Aesop.
Okay. In chapter 99, there's this one guy in the second page of the chapter with the word Bell 106 on his shirt. If you pronounce Bell as Baru and 10 as native Japanese To and 6 Ro for short as Ro, you get Baru To Ro, which is basically Bartolomeo. Coincidence much? Also, what do you have to say about the stuff written on One Piece t-shirts in general? It's a really good question. Why don't we take a look? Let's take a look at that shirt in question, chapter 99.
Greg goes through his library,
which is conveniently on my desk here.
Mine is a county away right now.
All right. Unfortunately, I see this as not a 6, but I see it as 100. I think that there's a speed line going through there. So, yeah, I see the character, but I do see Bell 100. So, good idea. But I don't think... I mean, it obviously... I have to be ambiguous. It could be anything. Certainly, that could be him. But as far as I can tell, no, that looks like a 100.
Does he look anything like Bartolomeo?
If he had long hair, but I mean, it doesn't look like the Bartolomeo that I think we saw in his brief little flashback.
Yeah, he looked kind of similar, right? He didn't look that different.
Still having the mohawk, right?
Yeah, I think he had the whatever that style is. But no, that is a really, really cool idea. The back of his hair certainly has the wavy nature to it. So that is a very cool idea. I mean, I went through here looking for Bartolomeo so many times. I was hoping he would be in here, but I don't think he is. That's not to say Oda won't come out and be like, yeah, see that speck there? That's Bartolomeo. And troll us all. But
I love the voices you've given everyone.
Right? Coincidence. Oh, and about the stuff in One Piece t-shirts. I think we could all talk about this one, but I love the One Piece t-shirts. They're great. The only ones I don't really like are the ones from Fishman Island.
But that's the sound effect ones, or what they're saying, and it's just
what they're like. Yeah, they're like what they're saying, because it just, I don't know. It felt like the fourth wall was not broken, but like violated. It was awful. I just taken so out of the story by them. But maybe that's just me being pompous. I don't know. There are probably a lot of people who read them and liked them. I did not. But as far as like little hidden things like that Bell 100, like you got to look at all the t-shirts and be like, what is he trying to do here? There's got to be some kind of joke. Even in the most recent color spread, he's got that brook, and it's just like, what is he trying? There's some kind of joke or something he's trying to convey here, and it's fun. It's a little game. It's like a game. It's like a highlights search magazine, like those find the differences in the pages, right?
Yeah.
It's one of them, and it's really fun to go through and find those things. Unfortunately, you have to be fairly well versed in Japanese to deal with a lot of them, but I think. Even as just foreign fans, you can find some cool designs.
All right, I'm going to go through these a little quicker. We could try a lightning round, but we know that's not going to work. Adonis, who's a deal on our on One Piece podcast, asked, have you ever considered the possibility of Corazon being a female character?
Yes.
That's my consideration from the get-go.
Yeah, me too. Not like definitely, but I could see it.
That's what I'm hoping.
Yeah. Greg?
Sure.
Okay. Otaku Ichigo says, why are you on this part? No, it's okay. First,
They might be a Tokyo Mew Mew fan. Calm down.
No, it says, first, thanks for letting me know about Greg's quiz book. I just ordered it from Amazon.gp.
Thank you.
And now for my question. Do you guys think that the weapons Sabo and Koala were talking about in Chapter 744 may be the fake devil fruits being produced in the Smile Factory, perhaps for Kaido's army?
Nope. I have a feeling that those are the weapons that are being produced on that, as of yet, unnamed island that Caribou was at.
All right. Forgot about that. Next one for Yonko Productions says, it's for Greg. In terms of Dressrosa, is there any cool things you've noticed that have kind of slipped past the fandom, whether it be foreshadowing, references, throwbacks, anything that's pretty neat? I guess besides what we've went through today.
Yes.
Good. This is truly a lightning round.
And no comment. Sorry. Cannot comment.
No
But yes.
Greg knows things. That's all you need to know. No Last Name 100 says, I know very little about Japanese, but hopefully someone on the show will be able to answer this. That sounds possible here.
I'm just kidding.
Next question. Is it possible that when we find out what D stands for, it could translate into a word in English that doesn't begin with D?
Oh, I'll tell you what D stands for. D's gum fruits.
No, it stands for the, as in the Bart. The.
No, I think Oda will not betray and be like, hey, it actually is this. No, I think he has an idea for what D stands for, and I think it does stand for something. I would stick with that train of thought, that it stands for something that begins with D.
Greg, we're going to move to Facebook. I think you'll love this question as much as I do because it'll remind you of something. This comes from Josh, who says, the transponder snail broadcast being cut off with the outside world probably means the bird cage is a Faraday cage, which blocks electromagnetic waves like radio waves. Also, on the bottom of page 9 last week, Kiro shaved his beard pretty fast. Keep up the awesome work.
Shaved it pretty fast. Yes.
So wait, it's basically Dressrosa's become the island from Lost.
Yes.
Okay, that's right.
Science.
Faith. Science versus faith. Lost.
That means Smoker's got to show up at some point then.
Yeah, I like it.
Good callback to Lost. Wow, I haven't heard about that in years. It was like
or somebody's got a.
I don't think that was even a Lost reference because a Faraday cage is a thing named
in
after
science.
Faraday. Yeah, in science.
Get Out. Is that the inspiration for Faraday then?
I believe it is. Yeah.
Wow.
But I mean, it also harkens back to Lost on several accounts. I don't know if he was purposely doing it. Josh, let us know if you were purposely doing it. Next one comes from Mark. I don't think we did this one. Since the Straw Hat crew is heading to Zoe, Nami, Sanji, etc., running from Big Mom, do you think that the Vivre card from Lola, assuming she's the daughter, will come into play and make them an ally to the Straw Hats during the Zoe arc, or will it be a last-ditch plea?
I think so.
Kind of went into that one in previous question, but I would think it would help.
Okay, I can't remember if we talked off or on the air at this point.
Possibly.
Greg, you did so well last week at this, so it's that time of the Piece Together segment where we...
Piece the tweet.
You're good.
Overactor.
All right, it's time for Piece the Tweet, where we take your Twitter questions and comments. First one is from Benedict Johansson. Is a group of Doflamingos called a Doflamboyance?
Yes. Yes, it is.
You, sir. You win.
It's a good one.
Then we got one in, I think, Filipino. What's the language in the Philippines?
Tagalog.
Yeah, I don't remember. I don't know how to speak that. I'm sorry. We have a lot of fans from there that I've just offended. I am sorry.
How dare you, Jewish person from New York, not know that language?
Oh, what a racist.
Yeah?
I'm sorry. Milos, the creator, says, how many episodes of the anime can you marathon in one go? What's your maximum?
I don't get it. Do we set time aside?
Well, the fastest I ever went through it, I watched all of Alabasta over a 4-day weekend.
Jesus.
Yeah, so do the math
Wow.
there. I don't know. That's for me. That's the answer.
I don't know. Like I watched some DVD sets in like a day or two. You know,
When I was in
Depending,
college,
I wanted to see him.
when I was in college on Talk Like a Pirate Day, I got a whole bunch of people together and trying to get them into One Piece. So we sat and watched the first like 14 or 15 episodes, which brought us like through most of the Kuro arc, and that was the most episodes I've watched in one sitting.
Wow.
I think both for One Piece and anime in general, I can do like 10 before I need to do something different, or at least get up.
Yeah,
See, I'm a binge watcher. I love binge watching. I kind of wish now I watched Lost as a binge series, although I did love watching it once a week. I'm sorry I keep bringing up Lost this week. Gwen asked a pretty interesting question. I put the photo she is referring to in the chat here, and on the description, hopefully. I noticed a familiar figure in the aftermath of NES Lobby. Could this have been a little hint for Sabo?
it's not him.
Beautiful. Next question. It's in the anime first. I don't know if it's in the manga. I wouldn't trust anything in the anime.
It's not that big of a top hat. It could be that other dude with that hat.
There's a few dudes with that hat.
The guy that with the curly hair. He kind of looked.
We all thought he was going to be
kind
Sabo.
of looks like a Jewish stand-up comedian.
Jerry Seinfeld.
No.
James Nanawa asks, when will the third ancient
James,
weapon, Uranus, be revealed, and will we ever see Joy Boy?
First of
Later
all,
tonight.
I think it's pronounced Uranus, and there's no second of all.
It's like, how graphic do you want to get with this joke?
Not very?
Okay.
Okay.
When is Uranus coming out?
Well, I have to prolapse it first, then we'll see.
Okay. Oh, but what do you guys think? When that actually is revealed, we're going to be just making jokes.
When we least expect it.
Yes.
Good answer. Jared Sanchez says, we're almost done here. Do you guys think we'll get a flashback of Sabo growing up? I would be content with a montage or a sabotage, if you will.
No.
Oh,
Confusing.
I love that.
Greg loves it.
I predict it's him walking on a log with a warthog and a meerkat. And we get about 3 different cycles, when he's a child, when he's a teenager, and then when, he's a young adult.
I think I saw that in a movie once.
I don't think you
like
did. Shut your mouth.
And penguin and giraffe instead.
I was thinking that he'd be walking along a beach while some J-rock or Japanese pop is playing for about 2 minutes longer than it should be.
Boss Aesop, who we've
Will
definitely
he be running for no reason and just be smiling that he's running?
Yes.
Boss Aesop, who we definitely answered many questions from, but they've been good questions.
Aesop's on a roll.
He is. I'm not answering his questions for a few more weeks after this, obviously. No. Celestial Dragons, the Hoof of the Flying Dragon, Vegapunk Dragons, Monkey D Dragon. What is up with dragons?
Ooh.
Dragons are cool.
You forgot another dragon. And those dragons are from a certain arc we all know very well. I don't remember the name. I don't remember the.
Could it be a piece?
Yeah, Airpiece.
Well, isn't that special?
It's from the Airpiece arc. Don't ask me the name of the dragons because I don't choose to remember.
Akimi, do you actually want to answer?
I think they're called like the Senryu.
Okay,
like
we're done.
Thousand-year
No
dragons.
Akami
The
Chan.
ugliest dragons too.
We're done with the dragons. Akami Chan
What about
says,
Pete's dragon?
His name was Elliot.
this one's for Greg. How did the Japanese fandom react after Chapter 731's revelation? which I believe is the Saba one.
Yeah, that is the Saba. Japan exploded. I think the rest of the world exploded more than Japan did because they went to Twitter and were like, "Hey, everybody, Sabo's back," and ruined it for everybody else. So,
yeah, that's for sure.
So while the rest of the world was like, "Woohoo, yeah," Japan was like, "Oh, for fuck's sake."
Yeah.
That sounds about right.
But that was the adult world. The target, I think, core fan base is still unsullied by Twitter. So I think they were all surprised.
Lucky people.
Yeah, a lot of my students are still like, whoa, hold on, Greg, is Sabo alive? And I'll be like, yeah. And they'll be like, wow, do you think he'll eat the Maramara fruit? And I'm just like, maybe, kids. Maybe.
I think the misconception here is, I think what was so surprising about that was that Sabo's back this soon. Anyone that was like, oh my God, I can't believe Sabo's alive, my response would be, oh my God, I can't believe you're so stupid.
Yeah.
Is that too mean? Am I being too mean?
Well, it was, I think a lot of people over here, it was, I want to say they're very, what's a kind word? They're very simple in their interpretation of the story, perhaps. So I think a lot of people thought that he might have been deceased just because they kind of take One Piece at some of the face value. But whereas you get into the more hardcore fan base, like ourselves, obviously, where we know Oda's theories and policies, but where if you're just reading it like a series, you're like, oh, he's dead. Wow, that's a shame. And like they're obviously not thinking about what happened in X arc or how to compare it. So that probably surprised them. So I think the main casual fan base was surprised by it.
Okay, I think that's a good place to leave off since a lot are repeat questions after this. So you guys want to round off?
All right.
Sure.
This has been episode 316 of the unofficial One Piece podcast for Monday, May 5th. Although by the time you get this, it definitely will not be May 5th because it is very late on May 5th at this point. Good show today. We got to go through OnePiece.com, Greg's special section. What's the official name of it? It's Greg's Corner, Greg's One Piece Corner.
Greg Sensei's special One Piece lecture, something like that.
Cool.
Course. Yeah.
Course. So we all got
super. I don't fucking know. It's I don't know the name of my own thing.
So we all got schooled. So that's good. We also went through the anime Toonami, and we had an interview with Chris Sims. So it's been a packed episode, and plus a lot of piece together. So I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Next week, we're going to have Josh Kosherek on for the full episode, or most of the episode. We'll be talking about the latest manga chapter with him and going through a lot of what is going to be happening next with One Piece from Funimation. Please feel free to send in those questions. We will not be answering them during the week, nor will anyone else. So just wait until Monday. We've been getting the same exact questions over the last 4 months, so you will be getting answers. After that, we'll have, hopefully. After that, we will have Matt Cohen from Smodcast and Bagged and Boarded. He will be on, I think it's the 19th. And we will also have an interview with Brina Palencia forthcoming, and some really cool stuff we have planned for our 5th anniversary celebration around the 31st or the first week of June. Well, first, is there anything happening, Greg, that you'd like people to know about?
Not in particular. Although my segment in V-Jump has proven to be quite popular, and it's going to be expanding soon. So, yeah.
Ooh. How can you say how so, or it's just
no? I cannot.
Okay.
It will be expanding.
Okay.
It will be less colorful, unfortunately. I can say that much. But more content.
Interesting.
Black and white video.
Dennis, what's going on in your neck of the woods?
Well, I'm getting ready for Fanime, making lots more cosplay. I will also have a new episode of Cosplay Jam, my podcast about cosplay and convention adventures, coming up later this week, all about WonderCon, where Kate and I went as, well, she was a gender-bent Captain America, and I was going as the comic book version of Winter Soldier. You can follow more photos and stuff like that on skcosplay.com, or our podcast is also on the Stitcher Radio app. You can follow me on Twitter at Ichnob.
Dude, what's going on with you?
Well, let's see. About a week from now, next Sunday, I will be on the Super Art Fight Streamcast. It's when we get together and basically draw stuff for about 2 hours, and it's a rockin' good time. Please check it out. And that is in preparation for, in 2 weeks, at the Black Cat in Washington, D.C., 9 o'clock, the big Black Cat Super Art Fight show. I'll be up there along with many other talented artists. So if you're in the DC area, please come check out that show. And you can follow me on Twitter at Dude! Tumblr also.
And Steve, what's happening with you?
Well, nothing.
Cool. All right, Steve. How could the good people out there contact us?
Well, they can contact us at our website, OnePiecePodcast.com. Subscribe, rate, and review on iTunes as well as Stitcher Radio, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Also, go on the following websites, like Facebook, Facebook.com, Twitter.com/OnePiecePodcast, OnePiecePodcast.tumblr.com gets updated some of the times.
I've been good on that.
Yeah, you've been good. Where else?
YouTube.com/OnePiecePodcast. You might have said that.
And our phone number.
That phone number is 347-497-MAGI. That phone number again is 347-497-6254. Call anytime.
Anytime.
With your questions, comments, theories, suggestions for Steve's new ticks coming up soon. Thanks, everyone, for coming on the show. Thanks, Greg. Thanks, Dude. Thanks, Dennis. I'm excited. Steve, you're excited for next week?
I am excited and ready.
You're both excited and ready? Perfect.
And I have seen the near final cut of One Piece Podcast Goes to Japan, and it is flippin' amazing.
Yes, Jose has been putting a lot of work into these final edits. I think we're in the approval phase officially now, right? Maybe not.
I think one more cut we have to go that he's prepping as we speak, and that will go in for approval.
Okay, so we're final stretch, hopefully. I keep saying that. But for the One Piece Podcast, we will see you next week. My name is Zach.
And my name is Steve.
Goodbye, everyone.
Come to our panels.
May the 5th be with you.
SuperArtFight.com.
SteveYurko.tumblr.com.
OnePiecePodcast.com.
At Steve Yurko.
It's technically Revenge of the 5th, but Revenge of the 6th makes more sense to me. We didn't wish Luffy a happy birthday.
Oh, happy birthday, Jose.
He's a fictional character.
Crazy